Southern Theater Command, a certain Special Operations Brigade camp. A group of officers in crisp military uniforms were walking into the conference room with synchronized steps. The Colonel Brigade Commander, sitting in the center, stood up and cleared his throat. "Comrades, according to orders from higher authorities, our unit will be responsible for this year's freshman military training. Past training content focused on formation movements, marching, and simple military boxing. With the rapid development of technology and changes in the international situation, the old system can no longer keep up with the times." Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua stepped forward. "Here." Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua stood at attention and saluted. "You will serve as the chief commander for this military training mission. This is the new military training plan. Take it and study it. You must carry forward the fine traditions of the military and successfully complete this mission." The brigade commander placed the thick stack of materials on the table. "Yes." Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua straightened his back and slammed his palm against his brow. His salute was meticulous, but deep down, there was an indescribable resistance. Leading military training was seen by others as a cushy job, equivalent to a half-month vacation. But for Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua, commander of the Sharp Knife Battalion, it was a task that delayed his training. However, obeying orders was a soldier's vocation, so he had no choice but to accept. Military training. Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua muttered to himself, a plan forming in his mind. The next morning, Cao Boyi and Lu Dian stood at the school gate, watching military vehicles drive into the campus. "Damn, are these the instructors for our military training? In this sun, I'm afraid we'll be a shade darker by the time military training is over. So that's why you're tanned?" Students at the school gate stopped to discuss. "Brother E, I haven't seen you in 3 days. Why do you feel taller? And you've gotten stronger too." Lu Jian sized up Cao Boyi with a look one might give a giant panda. Immediately after, he took a black plastic bag out of his backpack and handed it over mysteriously. "This is the military training artifact I prepared, sanitary pad insoles. I'm afraid this won't be needed." Cao Boyi raised an eyebrow. Based on his experience from his past life, this military training was not going to be an ordinary one. At 9 in the morning, the opening ceremony officially began. First, the principal took the stage to give a speech, introducing the military leaders and emphasizing the significance of military training for cultivating willpower and shaping discipline. Next was the military representative, Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua, who served as the chief commander of the military training, taking the stage to speak. This military training aims to cultivate a team style of obeying orders and acting in unison through militarized training. The military training will last for 15 days. The content will no longer be the boring formations and marching, but something closer to actual combat. Basic infantry tactics, team cooperative combat, combat skills, and there will even be live-fire shooting. Live-fire shooting? The boys in the crowd instantly boiled over, and the girls who were interested in firearms also had their eyes shining. "Quiet." Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua's voice exploded like a tolling bell, and the noisy crowd instantly went silent. Safety is the bottom line of military training. Students must take safety as the core principle. Cao Boyi felt a bit drowsy. To him, having experienced this once, these speeches felt like watching a news rerun. Finally, the opening ceremony reached its last segment. Click, 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 the sound of high heels rang out. Director Qin Wenman took her speech draft and walked gracefully onto the stage. "Wow, is this a teacher from our school? So beautiful. I've heard from seniors that she is Director Qin from the Student Affairs Office, and she's notoriously strict. Don't provoke her. If you're not careful, she'll give you a demerit, and you won't even be able to apply for a scholarship." There was a lot of discussion offstage, as many students had heard of Director Qin's reputation. Director Qin Wenman was wearing her signature OL professional attire, with high-end black silk stockings wrapped around her legs, looking mysterious and composed. The gold-rimmed glasses on the bridge of her nose added a touch of coldness, and her every gesture radiated an air of arrogance. Although Su Shiji is a wimp, his mother is truly beautiful. Cao Boyi stared fixedly at Director Qin Wenman. Su Shiji's mother and Zhou Zixuan's mother were completely different types of mature women. Annie Jiang was gentle and soft, a typical virtuous wife and loving mother. Director Qin was a cold, elegant noblewoman, radiating an air that kept people at a distance. Su Shiji, I hope you don't come to provoke me again. Director Qin Wenman's cold gaze swept over the faces of the students below. I am the director of the Student Affairs Office, Director Qin Wenman. I will now read the rules and regulations for military training. During the military training, I will strictly monitor your behavior. Those who train diligently will be commended. As for those who violate discipline or are lazy, I will never tolerate it. Whether it's being late or leaving early, not training seriously, or talking back to instructors and refusing to obey management, once discovered, you will be punished. The students couldn't help but gasp. A demerit in university would go into your personal file and follow you for life. It would have a huge impact on taking the civil service exam, applying for graduate school, or finding a job. No student was unafraid of that. Seeing the terrified expressions of the students around him, Su Shiji couldn't have been more smug. Since he was a child, his mother had always been a holy, inviolable goddess in his heart. Every time he caused trouble outside, his mother could always help him solve it immediately. This time was no exception. Damn beast. Mom will definitely avenge me. Su Shiji clenched his fists, staring viciously at Cao Boyi in the ranks. He quietly took out his phone, entered the phone number his mother had given him, and sent a text message. The ceremony ended, the instructors gathered in front of the rostrum to hold a meeting, and the students waited where they were. Before long, a staff sergeant in camouflage with a tall, upright posture jogged over from the rostrum. He stopped in 4 steps and saluted. Hello, students. My name is Instructor Li Yunlong, and I am your instructor. You can call me Instructor Li. The instructor was about 1.82 meters tall, with a warm smile on his square face, looking very approachable. Ha ha, battalion commander too. Where's your Italian cannon? Regimental commander? A regimental commander is nothing. When I was attacking the county town, the division commander even handed me a cigarette. I fight elites. Happy laughter came from the ranks. The instructor actually had the same name as the protagonist in Drawing Sword. Instructor Li Yunlong's expression turned gloomy, and he roared, Don't you know to report before speaking? The students who just spoke stepped forward. The scene instantly quieted down. Everyone was intimidated by this powerful aura. He strode to the front of the ranks, scanning everyone with eyes like a hawk. I'll say it again. The students who spoke stepped forward. Still, no one stepped forward. A mischievous smile appeared on Instructor Li Yunlong's originally serious face. I've always been clear about rewards and punishments. I only want to punish students who don't follow the rules. Unfortunately, no one is admitting it. He paused, then continued in a teasing tone. Then everyone will just have to be punished together, everyone. Military posture for 1 hour. The scorching sun hung high over the playground. No one expected that the kind-faced Instructor Li Yunlong would suddenly become so stern. Stand up straight. Keep your legs straight and eyes fixed forward. Whoever dares to move will add another 20 minutes. The instructor walked back and forth between the rows with his hands behind his back. The students were swaying, their faces filled with expressions of agony. Instructor Li Yunlong checked the time. Only 15 minutes had passed. Is the physical fitness of university students nowadays really this poor? He muttered to himself, but didn't step forward to nitpick, as military training had only just begun. What had just happened was merely a warning to give these rookies a taste of discipline. He had gone through the same thing himself back in the recruit company. Wait. Instructor Li Yunlong's gaze locked onto a single figure. It was an extremely inconspicuous boy, only a little over 1.7 meters tall. Among everyone, only he stood perfectly still and straight, with less sweat on his face than the others. What is your name? Report, instructor. My name is Cao Boyi. Cao Boyi looked straight ahead, his voice loud and clear. Good lad. Have you served in the military before? Report, instructor. No. Instructor Li Yunlong was astonished. This kid had never been in the army, yet his military posture was so standard. Legs taut, lower abdomen slightly drawn in, head held high, chest puffed out, with the center of gravity slightly forward. Usually, only veterans in the army could stand like that. He didn't continue to ask. Checking the time, he ordered, "Attention everyone, sit down and rest where you are." Within the freshman formation, there was a chorus of wails as they teetered. Damn, it's finally over. I feel like I'm about to be dehydrated. My legs don't even feel like they belong to me anymore. If it's like this on the first day, how are we going to survive the days ahead? Cao Boyi stretched his body, looking as if he hadn't had enough. He still wanted to test the limits of his endurance, but it had ended so abruptly. The skill given by the system was truly awesome. It was tailor-made for military training. Just as the students were discussing, a man with a center-part hairstyle and a student union badge walked over. The power of the student union in universities is not small, especially the cadres of the university student union, who sometimes wield even more power than regular counselors. "Hello, instructor." The man greeted Instructor Li Yunlong. "I am from the university student union." Instructor Li Yunlong looked at the badge on his chest. Jingduan, student union vice president. The chief instructor had just mentioned that the school would send student union cadres to assist in managing military training and requested the instructors to cooperate. So he asked with a smile, "Hello, Vice President Jingduan, is there anything you need? I would like to report a situation to you." Jingduan leaned in, lowering his voice. "There is a student in your company named Cao Boyi. He was very unruly back in high school and is a notorious troublemaker. I'm worried he might cause trouble during military training, so I came specifically to give you a heads up to train this kid a bit harder." Instructor Li Yunlong furrowed his brows. As a soldier, he despised those who tattled behind people's backs. Moreover, he had just praised Cao Boyi, and for someone to come and complain right after was essentially a slap in his face. "All right, I understand." Instructor Li Yunlong waved his hand, signaling that he could leave. Jingduan nodded and bowed as he retreated. After walking some distance away, he took out his phone to reply to a message from Su Shiji. He originally didn't want to handle this kind of thing personally, as it would leave evidence. However, the other party was Director Qin Wenman's son. What is this animal here for? Cao Boyi swept a cold glance over him. This guy looked like the Tokyo Iron Hat King, Yoichi Matsumoto. With a center-part hairstyle and glasses, he looked honest and simple, but behind the scenes, he had done many malicious things. Using his position as student union vice president, he colluded with off-campus black loan platforms, inducing students to take out high-interest loans and taking high commissions from them. In their sophomore year, a female student was threatened by a debt collection agency with nude photos and committed suicide by slitting her wrists in the dormitory after a mental breakdown. This incident caused a huge uproar. Jingduan was expelled from the school and received severe legal punishment. Rest over. Everyone assemble. Attention, dress right. Once the crowd had completely quieted down, Instructor Li Yunlong announced some exciting news. There's been an adjustment to this military training. The computer science department, the physical education department, and the music department will be merged into one battalion and will begin training together. Merge training? And with the music department? The boys in the queue were extremely excited. The gender ratio in the computer science department was severely imbalanced. There were only 8 girls in the whole department of over 100 people. The music department was the exact opposite. There were very few boys, and it was full of pretty girls. Quiet. Look at how pathetic you all are. Left face, forward march. Led by Instructor Li Yunlong, the large troop advanced toward the location of the music department. Bro, look at the second one in the first row. What a top-tier beauty. Someone poked Cao Boyi's arm. Turning his head to look, it was actually his roommate from his previous life, Ma Zihong. This guy once set a record of taking off 8 times in a single day, earning him the nickname Master Lu. I advise you to stay away from her, Cao Boyi said earnestly. That top-tier beauty was none other than Josie Xuan. Josie Xuan was the school beauty in high school, and her looks were still very striking in university. Holy crap, Ma Zihong rubbed his eyes. Wasn't this guy the ruthless one from the opening ceremony? The change was so huge. He had grown quite a bit taller, and his physique had become much stronger. Brother E, over here. Lu Jian waved the camouflage cap in his hand, greeting Cao Boyi. He was surrounded by a few classmates, looking very familiar. After all, physical education students also participated in many competitions during high school and could get to know many students from other schools in the same major. Cao Boyi was different. The computer science department was basically made up of science students who were relatively introverted and not as quick to make friends. This scene was coincidentally seen by the physical education department instructor, Instructor Zhang. What are you doing? Prepare for 100 push-ups. Instructor Zhang was a big man of 1.95 meters, his camouflage vest stretched tight by his muscles, looking extremely explosive. Yes, Lu Jian didn't say a word and dropped down to do push-ups. This amount of exercise was nothing to a physical education student. 98, 99, 100. Lu Jian stood up and clapped his hands, looking completely at ease. Ever since he went to the gym with Cao Boyi last time, his physical fitness had also greatly improved. Wow, Lu Dian's show-off behavior drew a chorus of exclamations from the girls in the neighboring music department. 18 is the age of budding romance, and quite a few physical education students were eager to try their luck. In their view, priority training rights seemed more attractive than being an outstanding student. Su Shiji, also from the physical education department, watched the two of them with a sinister look. For some time now, people have been gossiping behind his back, calling him a mama's boy who could only sing "Mom is the best in the world." Students, today we will be conducting drill training, and it is the only day for drill training. Time is tight and the task is heavy, so please make sure to be on your toes. Instructor Zhang, standing beside me, will serve as the commander-in-chief for our battalion. He has even participated in a military parade. The voice of Instructor Li Yunlong echoed across the parade ground. Students, if you have any questions, you may call out report now, and I will answer them for you. Report, Instructor. If we perform well, can we have a longer break? A chubby little boy asked tentatively. Of course. As long as you all cooperate, I believe this will be a pleasant military training, Instructor Li Yunlong said with a smile, nodding. They were all professional soldiers who had undergone rigorous training, so naturally, they wouldn't deliberately make things difficult for the students. However, an untimely voice suddenly piped up. Report, Instructor. I have something to take care of this afternoon and cannot attend the military training. I need to ask you for leave. The scene instantly went quiet. Asking for leave now was tantamount to slapping the instructor in the face, who was bold enough to confront the instructor right in his face. Everyone's gaze shifted to Cao Boyi. He looked calm, with not a trace of panic in his eyes. You want to ask for leave? Instructor Li Yunlong fronat. He hadn't expected this guy to be such a troublemaker, asking for leave just as the military training had begun. Although displeased, he still had to follow the rules. So he asked, "What is the reason?" "My mother is sick, and I need to take her to the hospital this afternoon," Cao Boyi said casually. He couldn't very well say he was going to the securities department to open an account and trade stocks. That would be a bit provocative. Instructor Li Yunlong subconsciously touched his chin, wanting to ask further, but was interrupted by another voice. Report, Instructor. He is lying. This guy's an orphan. His mother died long ago. An orphan taking his mother to see a doctor? Conjuring a mother out of thin air. Su Shiji sized up Cao Boyi with a sneer on his face. He had been worried about not finding a chance to cause trouble for Cao Boyi, and now the opportunity had presented itself. An orphan? The instructors looked at each other, unable to make up their minds for a moment. If there really was a special situation requiring leave, they naturally wouldn't make things difficult on purpose. But if this was a lie, it would be extremely disrespectful. Seeing the instructors wavering, Su Shiji lifted his chin and said indignantly, "Our battalion is a whole. We cannot let one student being lazy affect everyone else." I, Su Shiji, am just speaking the truth. We don't have much time for training as it is, and we can't have one person dragging us down, ultimately causing everyone to miss out on honors. Su Shiji felt thrilled. With just a few words, he was able to morally coerce Cao Boyi and put him in a tight spot. This process of defeating an enemy with intelligence was just so satisfying. Yeah, the Outstanding Group Award can add credits. Why should he affect our future? This guy is truly audacious. He doesn't respect the instructors at all. The previously quiet crowd quickly became noisy, and everyone felt a sense of imbalance in their hearts. Why should they have to stand in the military stance under the sun, while Cao Boyi could just walk away? I can guarantee that I can complete all drill movements to standard and will not drag everyone down. Cao Boyi's eyes were firm, and his tone was quite confident. These drill movements had long been deeply engraved in his mind by the system, as if he had practiced them thousands of times. He even had the confidence to surpass the instructors. After all, most veterans' training content was focused on physical fitness and combat. Except for the honor guard, very few put effort into drill formations. And the intermediate military proficiency given by the system was a comprehensive set of military skills, covering drill, driving, shooting, and even internal affairs, all at the highest level of a 10-year veteran. Guarantee? What are you using to guarantee that? Instructor Zhang, who had been silent, frowned and asked coldly. He had long found Cao Boyi annoying, causing trouble right under his nose. If this were in the army, he would have been disciplined by him long ago. Little Cao, do you think you can overcome these difficulties? Instructori unlon advisa earnestly. He had long seen that Cao Boyi was lying, but he didn't want to escalate the conflict, so he didn't expose him. Cao Boyi had been his soldier from the very beginning, his military stance was very standard, and he had a good impression of him. As for the guarantee, he didn't take it seriously at all. There is an essential difference between drill formations and the military stance. Drill formations involve a series of dynamic and static combinations of movements, while a military stance is just standing still, which is much easier. Su Shiji, are you itching for a beating again? Talking so nastily, Lu Jian threatened, waving his fist. He knew his good brother was spouting nonsense, but as a capable subordinate of Prime Minister Cao, he didn't have so many petty thoughts. Supporting his lord was all that mattered. Quiet. Instructor Zhang barked angrily, and after things became completely quiet, he glared fiercely at Cao Boyi. It's not that I'm making things difficult for you, but if I were to approve this leave so easily today, I'm afraid it would be hard to convince the others. Tell me, how can you guarantee you won't drag everyone down? If everyone has no objections, I won't make things difficult for you either. Instructor Zhang adjusted the brim of his cap and asked loudly. In the army, strength has always been respected. If Cao Boyi could convince everyone, he wouldn't mind agreeing to the request for leave. If not, it would be a perfect opportunity to make an example of him, to properly handle this troublemaker and warn others. Otherwise, his authority as an instructor would be gone. Instructor, Cao Boyi paused, then said in a calm tone, whether it's basic posture, halt and turn movements, or even marching training, I can reach the standard. Reach the standard? You mean the instructor isn't as good as you? Susaizi lauget alao. The reason he did this was to stir up conflict between Cao Boyi and the instructors and classmates. Even without your mother's help, I'll make it impossible for you to survive in school. Su Shiji looked smug, quite satisfied with his scheme of using others to do his dirty work. To deal with a simple-minded, brawny fool, he didn't need his mother to step in. He could handle him with his own intelligence. How about this? Instructor Zhang waved his hand, signaling everyone to calm down, and then slowly began to speak. I will demonstrate the drill project once first. You then follow and do it once. As long as you can reach 70% of my standard, I will approve your leave regardless of the reason. Otherwise, don't mention asking for leave ever again. As punishment, you will do an extra hour of physical training alone after the training ends. What? 70% of his standard. Instructor Li Yunlong's, I twitched violently. Isn't this clearly bullying? Instructor Zhang had participated in a military parade. He was a 1 in 10,000 soldier. Although that was in the past, he was still not someone a college student who had never been a soldier could compare to. Instructor Li Yunlong immediately gave a look, telling Cao Boyi not to agree, so as not to embarrass himself later. But Cao Boyi seemed not to notice, looking at Instructor Zhang with bright, piercing eyes. Okay, I agree. He truly has no idea what he's up against. The instructor is a professional soldier who has participated in military parades. Su Shiji, am putting it out there. If you can win, I'm willing to call you Dad. As Su Shiji made these sarcastic remarks, he beckoned the surrounding students to come watch the spectacle. Upon hearing that someone was going to challenge the instructor, the students looked over in unison, and their instructors did the same. Having led many sessions of military training, they had never seen a situation like this before. Moreover, the one being challenged was Instructor Zhang, the soldier with the most outstanding drill capabilities in the entire Special Operations Brigade. The two instructors stopped the training and ordered the students, "Attention everyone, pause training. We are going to watch Instructor Zhang's demonstration. Everyone look closely, learn well, and remember the key points of the movements." The crowd of onlookers grew larger and larger, surrounding Cao Boyi and Instructor Zhang, layer after layer. Rest assured, everyone here is a judge. I wouldn't bully someone younger than me. Instructor Zhang patted Cao Boyi on the shoulder, signaling him not to be nervous. To be honest, he actually quite admired this kid. Daring to challenge an instructor required immense courage. This kind of daring, aggressive greenhorn was well suited for being a soldier. Instructor Li Yunlong just shook his head helplessly. Originally, he saw that Cao Boyi had some talent and planned to train him well so he could be named a model soldier later on. That way, he could show off in front of his comrades. Not bad, right? This is a soldier I trained. Who knew that young people these days were so impulsive, challenging an instructor at the slightest disagreement? Being watched by so many people, he was bound to make a fool of himself. Cao Boyi nodded, not intending to blame Instructor Zhang. He understood that the instructor wasn't trying to make things difficult for him. It was just how the rules worked. Su Shiji had stirred up trouble and blown things out of proportion. If the instructor turned a blind eye, he probably wouldn't be able to convince the crowd. Cao Boyi looked coldly at Su Shiji in the crowd and said with a faint smile, "Are your words from just now for real? If I win, you'll call me Dad?" "Ha-ha, don't just say call me Dad. Calling me Grandpa is fine too." Su Shiji grinned, looking as if victory was already in his grasp. "No need. Calling me Dad is fine," Cao Boyi replied indifferently. He had no interest in Su Shiji's grandmother. As for Director Qin, being a dad to Su Shiji might be a decent choice. "Everyone quiet down. I will now demonstrate for you all." Instructor Zhang's voice was as loud as a bell. On the scorching playground, the sunlight poured down mercilessly, baking the ground until it was searing hot. Instructor Zhang stood with his legs straight, lower abdomen slightly tucked, head held high, and chest out, standing in the center of the crowd. The command rang out suddenly, "Turn right." Instructor Zhang's heels clicked together rapidly, his feet forming a 60-degree angle. Immediately after, he applied force to his right heel and the front part of his left foot, rotating his body 90 degrees to the right. The movement was smooth and natural, without any hesitation. Turn left, turn around, forward march, halt. Commands were issued continuously. Instructor Zhang's body was like the hand of a clock, precise and orderly, with every detail handled perfectly. During the rotation, his body always maintained balance. Halting turns, marching and halting, moving turns. In less than 5 minutes, he had finished demonstrating the entire drill curriculum. Clap, clap. I don't know who started the applause, but immediately after, dense, continuous applause rang out. This series of movements by Instructor Zhang was like a military performance, opening the students' eyes. "Instructor, you're awesome. You're my idol. Instructor Zhang, you're so handsome. I want to have your babies." The students all cast admiring gazes, and many girls had stars in their eyes. "Stop talking nonsense. Watch your conduct." Instructor Zhang's old face flushed, and he glared at a few of the students who were speaking recklessly. The military has strict discipline. During military training, it is strictly forbidden to have any ambiguous relationships with students. Even contact information cannot be exchanged. Sigh, brother is probably going to embarrass himself this time. Lu Jian said with a mournful face. It wasn't that he didn't have confidence in Cao Boyi, but rather that the instructor was simply too powerful. What an overestimation of one's capabilities. Seeing this scene, Zhou Zixuan breathed a sigh of relief inwardly. At first, she was a bit afraid that Cao Boyi might actually have some real skills. If he won against the instructor in front of everyone, he would be in the limelight. By then, many girls would surely be making eyes at him. And wouldn't that make her seem stupid and unable to recognize talent? Fortunately, this situation did not happen. Winning against an instructor was simply an impossible thing. It's true that Cao Boyi has changed a bit recently, but military proficiency relies on day-to-day training. A freshman who just graduated from high school, majoring in computer science, how could he possibly know how to march in a goose step? Young man, it's your turn. Instructor Zhang gave Cao Boyi a look and then stepped back 2 paces, leaving a spacious area. Cao Boyi nodded, his expression becoming solemn. What are you pretending for? Just admit defeat, surrender, and lose half. He's really putting on an act. Don't get stuck in an awkward situation later. I know him. A couple of days ago at the school gate, he fought with some thugs. He seems pretty good at fighting. He took down several people by himself. So what? This is military training. Don't compare soldiers with thugs. It's an insult to the soldiers who defend the country. The crowd was chattering, none of them optimistic about Cao Boyi, just waiting to watch the joke. To this, Cao Boyi turned a deaf ear. Having lived through storms of blood and fire and reborn into another life, his mental fortitude was far stronger than the average person. Attention! The command was like a battle horn, instantly igniting the atmosphere. Legs straight, chest naturally out, upper body upright, leaning slightly forward. Cao Boyi's entire person was like a tall, straight pine tree, firmly rooted to the ground. Turn left. Cao Boyi's body seemed to be guided by an invisible force, precisely rotating 90 degrees to the right. After completing the rotation, he quickly brought his feet together, assuming the position of attention. The entire process was done in one go, clean and crisp. Holy crap, he's actually got some skills. Instructor Li Yunlong couldn't help but swear. As the saying goes, experts watch the technique, laymen watch the spectacle. He naturally knew Cao Boyi's level. Those 2 movements just now were completely on par with Instructor Zhang, and perhaps even better. The angles were precise, his posture tall and straight, unmoving, without the slightest bit of swaying. Holy crap, is this guy a special forces soldier? Ma Zihong, known as Master Lu, couldn't help but exclaim. He had read quite a few Special Forces novels and subconsciously projected Cao Boyi into them, fighting multiple opponents, beating up thugs, and showing off his power by challenging the instructor during military training. Damn, this is definitely a web novel protagonist. Cao Boyi remained expressionless, staring straight ahead without blinking. Before anyone could react, he smoothly began the next movement. The midday sun pierced through the clouds like countless golden needles, stinging one's eyes. Beads of sweat rolled down his cheeks, yet he remained completely unaware. Forward march, about face march. This was the most challenging maneuver during marching. While moving forward, Cao Boyi quickly used his feet as a pivot, rotating his body 180 degrees backward. His steps remained firm and powerful, without the slightest hint of panic or error. What the hell kind of monster is this? Instructor Zhang's eye twitched, and for a moment, he was speechless. He knew in his heart that he had lost, and he had lost thoroughly. Whether it was precision, the coordination between breathing and movement, or even that aura of solemn lethality, it was all significantly better than his current self. Only his level when participating in the military parade could compare to it. After finishing the last move, Cao Boyi returned to his original spot as if nothing had happened. The sunlight shone on his straight back, revealing a sense of solemnity. Silence. The air was completely silent. The initial surprise on Instructor Zhang's face turned into appreciation, and finally, he couldn't help but applaud. The applause acted like a signal. The surrounding students followed suit, and a rustling sound echoed across the parade ground. This is just too awesome. Even the instructor is stunned. I'm afraid this is even more standard than the instructor. Is he here for military training or to teach the instructor? Hundreds of gazes fell squarely on Cao Boyi, filled with shock, confusion, and undisguised admiration. Naturally, this included the instructors led by Instructor Zhang. Every movement of this student is so precise that you can't find a single flaw. I lost. Instructor Zhang's eyes were somewhat dejected. Being defeated in the drill subject he was best at left him with a strong sense of frustration. But as a soldier long influenced by military culture, he naturally understood the principle of standing tall when beaten. A loss is a loss. There is nothing to quibble about. You kid, be honest, have you been a soldier before? Instructor Li Yunlong asked with a chuckle, unable to hide his joy. After all, he was the instructor for the computer science department. Having such a talent under his command made him feel proud. Instructor Li Yunlong, please don't joke around. Cao Boyi gave a bitter smile. I only just turned 18 recently. An 18-year-old boy with fair, delicate skin. How could he have been a soldier? Thinking of this, looks of envy appeared on the faces of all the instructors. Some people might just be natural-born soldiers. If this talent were honed in the military, it wouldn't be impossible for him to join the honor guard in the future. Everyone go back to training. I approve this student's leave. Instructor Zhang said cheerfully, not feeling unhappy about being defeated by Cao Boyi. He even had the thought of going to ask him for advice later. Wait, hasn't someone forgotten something? Lu Jian shouted at the top of his lungs. Everyone's gaze turned toward Su Shiji, who stood in the crowd with a livid expression. Don't go too far. Su Shiji gritted his teeth. He never imagined that Cao Boyi could actually beat the instructor. What do you mean by too far? If you dare to do it, you should dare to own it. Are you even a man? Lu Jian strode forward, spreading his arms to block Su Shiji, who was preparing to sneak away. Seeing this, Su Shiji's lackeys couldn't sit still and swarmed over. What are you doing? Let Brother Jie go. If you block the way again, don't blame us for being impolite. Lu Dian's good brothers were equally unyielding and stepped up without a word. Young teenagers in their late teens valued brotherhood more than anything else. Lu Jian, don't be impulsive. Cao Boyi waved his hand, signaling Lu Jian not to start a fight. Su Shiji's identity was not simple. After all, he was the son of Director Qin. As a reincarnated person, there were countless ways to make money. A diploma and academic qualifications were nothing but waste paper to him. The reason he came to university was, firstly, to experience life, and secondly, not to disappoint Aunt Meijing. Lu Jian and the others were different. If they were retaliated against by Su Shiji's mother, it would affect their future for a lifetime. Cao Boyi didn't want to harm them because of this. Young Master Su, just a moment ago you were the picture of a gentleman. In the blink of an eye, you've turned into a man of no integrity. At first, I quite admired you, always considering the students and thinking of the collective. Forget it. Let's just pretend nothing happened. Cao Boyi let out a long sigh, shaking his head with feigned regret. Su Shiji wanted to curse, but he held it back. His reputation was already bad, and people teased him as a mama's boy. Now, having made a bet in public and wanting to renege after losing, if word got out, he wouldn't be able to stay at Xiangnan University. Cao Boyi had dug a pit for him, yet he had no choice but to jump in. Everyone disperse. This guy really isn't a man. It's just calling someone dad. What's the big deal? If you bet, you have to pay. Students whispered to each other, their gazes filled with contempt as they looked at Su Shiji. Su Shiji's face instantly turned the color of pig liver. The anger in his heart had nowhere to vent, and he felt extremely aggrieved. After a moment of thought, he extremely reluctantly squeezed 2 words out through his teeth. "Dad, good boy, good son." Cao Boyi nodded with satisfaction, looking at Su Shiji with a smile that wasn't quite a smile. At the same time, the image of Director Qin Wenman appeared in his mind. Ha ha ha, that's hilarious. This scene of acknowledging a rival as a father made the students burst into laughter. However, no one took the matter to heart. It was perfectly normal for boys to call each other dad when losing a bet, who hadn't recognized a few foster fathers during their university years. However, no one expected that. The process of Su Shiji calling him dad was secretly recorded by Lu Dian on his phone and posted to the school forum. The post shock. Rich second generation actually acknowledges a father during military training quickly went viral on the Xiangnan University forum. The impact of the post was far greater than imagined, not to mention that Su Shiji lost all face. Even his mother was significantly affected. Cao Boyi was completely unaware of this and took the leave request form signed by the instructor to find counselor. "Knock, knock, knock. Please come in." Cao Boyi walked into the office and placed the leave request form in front of a middle-aged man. This person was the counselor for the computer science department, Counselor Wang Anxuan. Cao Boyi had a good impression of this person. He was kind, easy to talk to, and well-liked by students in his previous life. Counselor Wang Anxuan took the slip, adjusted his black-rimmed glasses, and said with a smile, "Student Cao Boyi, right? Try to take as little leave as possible during military training. If the Student Affairs Office catches you, it will be difficult for me to handle." After signing the leave form, Counselor Wang Anxuan added, "Student Cao, your situation is a bit special. I have applied for an educational living allowance for you. Prepare the relevant materials and submit them as soon as possible. After school starts, there will be a living subsidy of 1,000 yuan every month." Cao Boyi nodded, recalling this matter. As an orphan, he could indeed enjoy some of the country's welfare policies. However, a mere 1,000 yuan was something he didn't even care about now, and he immediately planned to decline the counselor's kindness. Just then, the office door was opened. Click, click, click. The crisp sound of high heels tapping on the floor rang out. A stunning, mature woman walked in. It was Su Shiji's mother, Director Qin Wenman. Director Qin Wenman was still wearing her outfit from the morning. Business attire paired with black stockings and high heels, holding a Gucci bag in her hand. Her long hair was meticulously tied back, and her exquisite face appeared even fairer and colder under the lights, though it carried a hint of harshness. She first glanced at Counselor Wang Anxuan, then cast her gaze toward Cao Boyi, who was standing straight to the side. It's actually that brat from the gym." Director Qin Wenman had a slight impression of Cao Boyi as a fellow stock investor, having assumed he was a senior or even a graduate student in the finance department. She hadn't expected him to be a freshman. However, she didn't pay any attention to Cao Boyi, instead staring at Counselor Wang Anxuan, who was in the chair. "The list of freshmen who need to apply for student loans. Your computer science department is the only one missing. Director Qin, please give me one last day. Something came up at home recently." Counselor Wang Anxuan kept his head down, like a child who had done something wrong, not daring to look Director Qin Wenman in the eye. In all of Xiangnan University, whether students or teachers, few dared to provoke Director Qin. According to rumors, this Student Affairs Office director, under 40 years old, would be a strong candidate for vice president in the future. She could be said to have a boundless future. Don't let personal matters at home affect your work. Director Qin Wenman replied in an icy tone, then immediately turned and left. Logically speaking, this was a trivial matter. However, the stock market was performing poorly today, and under immense pressure, she took it out on the usually honest and obedient Counselor Wang Anxuan. Director Qin Wenman clicked her high heels to the parking lot and got into her convertible Z4. "Counselor Wang, if there's nothing else, I'll be going now." Bidding farewell to Counselor Wang Anxuan, Cao Boyi didn't even have time to change his clothes before rushing to the school gate. It was already 3 in the afternoon, and the securities firm would be closing soon. The stock market was ever-changing, and teletechnology could rise at any moment. He had to hurry and buy in to build his position. Cao Boyi opened the map on his phone to search for nearby brokerage branches. 5 kilometers away, Xiangnan Securities Binjiang branch. He waited at the school gate for a full 10 minutes without seeing a single taxi. Just as Cao Boyi was preparing to walk out of the university town to hail a cab, a white convertible sports car pulled up in front of him. Beep, beep. The horn sounded, and the car window slowly rolled down. Director Qin Wenman in the driver's seat was wearing sunglasses and asked coldly, "Are you a freshman? Why aren't you at school participating in military training at this hour, running out here instead?" Cao Boyi wasn't intimidated by the woman's powerful aura and nonchalantly waved the leave slip in his hand. "Something came up at home. I got leave to come out. My paperwork is in order. Get in. It's hard to hail a cab at the school gate at this hour. I'll drop you off at the bus station outside." Director Qin Wenman pressed the door lock and spoke in a commanding tone. Hearing this, Cao Boyi was taken aback for a moment, then pulled open the passenger door and sat right down. It would be a waste not to take a free ride, and besides, he was technically Su Shiji's nominal father. Enjoying the treatment of a father was perfectly reasonable. Director Qin Wenman held the steering wheel with one hand, possessing quite a dashing and heroic air. "Which department are you in? What's your name?" "My name is Cao Boyi, and I'm in the computer science department." "Cao Boyi." Director Qin Wenman turned her head to look Cao Boyi up and down. She felt like she had heard this name somewhere, but couldn't recall it for the moment. So she asked, "Last time at the gym, I met a boy about your age who was trading stocks. That was you, right?" Cao Boyi nodded, his gaze meeting the woman beside him. Truth be told, Su Shiji's mom was really beautiful. Even though she was almost 40, there wasn't a single wrinkle on her face. She exuded an icy aura, and her chin, held high inadvertently, gave people a sense of arrogance. Her white shirt was stretched tight, and outlined by the seatbelt, it looked bottomless. That wasn't a seatbelt, that was a wave detector. "What are you looking at?" Director Qin Wenman scolded coldly. This brat, who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, actually dared to stare at her chest. "Cough, cough, cough." Cao Boyi hurriedly turned his head away and took out his phone to open the stock trading software, using it to hide his embarrassment. Looking at the screen full of green, he couldn't help but sigh. If it keeps falling like this, the market is going to crash. Crash? It's not as easy as you say. The government will soon have market rescue measures. Director Qin Wenman instantly became interested and listed the recently announced positive news one by one. This action was more like comforting herself. Regarding this, Cao Boyi smiled non-committally, his tone slightly teasing. Rescue the market? Can he even save it? From the moment the deleveraging policy was introduced, this bull market was declared officially over, and the bear market has already begun. As for market rescue measures, they are just opportunities for retail investors to cut their losses and exit. In layman's terms, it's just running for your life. Cao Boyi looked absolutely certain. He didn't really understand the financial market. These words were all copied from those hindsight experts from the future. Asking stock experts to predict which stock will rise in the future is an impossible task. But if you let them look back and analyze the reasons for a rise or fall, they could talk for a day and a night with logical-sounding reasons. Director Qin Wenman was a bit stunned listening to this. If it were really, as the other party said, wouldn't she be finished? She had used family savings to trade stocks and lost several million. Once her husband discovered this, the consequences would be unimaginable. Thinking of this, a trace of panic instantly appeared on Director Qin Wenman's cold and beautiful face. Then according to you, the Dragon Country stock market is completely finished? Hundreds of millions of retail investors will lose everything. Theoretically, yes. However, the ones losing are all retail investors. Institutions and hot money have already made a fortune. It's just a matter of making a little less profit for them. As for the retail investors you mentioned, they're just a bunch of leaks. Once one crop is harvested, a new one will grow. Cao Boyi shrugged, looking indifferent. In his view, Trading stocks was about the same as those casinos in northern Myanmar. Gamblers could never beat the cheaters, let alone the house. Winning occasionally was just good luck. Unless they resolutely never touch it again from now on, money earned by luck will eventually be lost back by skill. Is there really no way at all? Director Cheen Wenman was so scared that she could barely hold the steering wheel. Don't look at her usual high and mighty, arrogant demeanor as a strong career woman. When actually encountering trouble, her mental fortitude was far inferior to a man's. There is actually... Cao Boyi subconsciously waved his phone and smiled. This monster stock, is it? Monster stock. Director Cheen Wenman turned her head to look and saw the 4 large characters, teletechnology, prominently displayed at the top of the screen. She had heard of this stock. It had been rising nonstop a while ago and had been on the top gainer lists many times. However, it hadn't performed well recently, and many well-known stock analysts and investment consultants had stated that the trend for this stock was completely over. Nonsense. A trace of disdain instantly appeared on Director Cheen Wenman's pretty face. A poor person from the bottom of society actually dared to talk big in front of her. He should take a look in the mirror. Cao Boyi had long anticipated this outcome. How could the arrogant Director Cheen easily trust him, a mere student? Besides, he had no intention of helping her anyway. He had just mentioned it in passing. Get out of the car. Director Cheen Wenman stopped the car in front of a bus stop, her tone cold. Cao Boyi found it baffling, so he said, "Thank you," and got out of the car without looking back. This woman, Director Cheen Wenman, was truly temperamental. One second, she was a helpful female teacher, and the next, she immediately changed her expression, as if he owed her money. The summer sun was blazing. The leaves on the trees were curled up from the heat, and the air was filled with a stifling, oppressive sultriness. Cao Boyi got into a taxi and headed towards the financial center. The Binjiang Financial Center was the largest financial hub in all of Star City, and even all of Shannan Province. The 6 major banks, securities firms, and insurance companies all had branches located here. Cao Boyi arrived at the Shannan Securities branch office. Perhaps because the market was performing poorly, the lobby was exceptionally deserted. The electronic screens were a sea of green, and a few scattered customers were sitting on chairs, looking distressed. "Hello, sir. My name is Deng Bo. How can I help you?" The staff member was a chubby young man wearing glasses, giving off a very shrewd impression. "Hello. Please help me open an account." Cao Boyi handed over the ID card he had prepared in advance. Deng Bo took the ID card, glanced at the age, and the smile on his face gradually froze. 18 years old, and wearing a camouflage uniform. It was obvious he was a student who had just started college and was undergoing military training. The market had been poor lately, and very few people were opening accounts. He had thought a potential sale had walked in, but it turned out to be just a green kid. Deng Bo said, feeling a bit dejected. "Little brother, I take it you're still a student, right? At this age, you should be focusing on your studies at school. It's best not to touch stocks. The stock market carries risks. One must be cautious when entering." Deng Bo's words were born out of a sense of responsibility. After all, the 80-20 rule also applied to stocks. Out of 10 investors, 2 make money, while the remaining 8 lose it. And that's under normal circumstances. With the current market conditions, I'm afraid less than 1% of people are profitable. Thanks for the reminder, brother. I'm willing to bear the risks. Please help me open an account, preferably a VIP account with reduced commissions. Cao Boyi was all smiles. For a reincarnator, the stock market held no risk. Instead, it was a place to pick up money. "Oh, you know quite a bit, little brother, even about VIP accounts. However, brokerage VIP accounts have requirements regarding account capital scale and trading volume. The conditions can be relaxed slightly during this period, but the account must have at least 3 million, and the annual trading volume needs to be over 1 million. Deng Bo explained patiently, though he didn't take it seriously in his heart. An unremarkable college student living on a monthly allowance from his parents. Where would he get the capital to trade stocks? Just because he self-studied a little bit about financial management, he thinks he can make money in the stock market? How could such a good thing exist in the world? Little Dang, this isn't how you boost performance. Why waste time on a student? Forget about a VIP account. I'm afraid he can't even pull out 10,000 yuan from his pocket. At most, it's just a few thousand yuan in living expenses and New Year's money. Students should study hard instead of coming to the stock market to mess around. A woman wearing an OL uniform, with a tall figure and exuding a queen-like aura, walked over slowly. The woman's name was Cheen Meyer, and she was the brokerage's gold medal investment advisor. She lived up to her name, possessing a beautiful, fox-like face with a faint flush on her cheeks. Cao Boyi could clearly smell the alcohol on her, and her dazed eyes carried a hint of drunkenness. Cheen, Sister Cheen. Dang Bo lowered his posture significantly, greeting the woman with his head slightly bowed. Unlike him, a client manager, Cheen Meyer was the branch's gold medal investment advisor. Client manager sounds high-end, but in reality, it's just sales responsible for developing clients and selling financial products like funds and wealth management. Investment advisors are quite different. They require a securities qualification certificate to work, and the threshold is much higher. They are responsible for providing professional investment advice to high-net-worth clients or institutions, and their status is very high. Cheen Meyer was even a standout among them, having previously worked at a large foreign investment bank. Having lost her job due to special reasons, she condescended to work as an investment advisor at this small branch office. Cao Boyi subconsciously opened the system to check her profile. Name: Cheen Meyer. Age: 34. Height: 168. Weight: 50 kilograms. Figure: 85. Attractiveness: 94. Relationship history: 0. Overall rating: 92. Cao Boyi was stunned. The system's rating for Cheen Meyer was actually as high as 92. What surprised him most was that this charming, mature woman had 0 relationship experience. What are you looking at? Be careful, or I'll gouge your eyeballs out. Cheen Meyer extended her slender, jade-like fingers, gesturing up and down in front of Cao Boyi. She did this out of good intentions, wanting to use an extreme method to dissuade Cao Boyi from opening an account to trade stocks. She had been grinding in the financial industry for many years and knew the ins and outs like the back of her hand. This field, which seemed full of opportunities and wealth, actually hid countless risks. Many people fell into an abyss of no return because of one wrong decision or one unexpected turn of events. Tragedies of broken families and ruined lives were played out every day. However, Cao Boyi did not understand the woman's inner thoughts. Sensing danger, he instinctively grabbed the woman's arm, twisted it back sharply, and easily subdued her. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Let me go quickly. Cheen Meyer slumped to the floor, her delicate voice, tinged with a hint of pitifulness, echoing through the lobby. You bastard, laying hands on me? What kind of man are you? You little brat, you're a college student from some school nearby, right? Be careful, or I'll have my sister deal with you. Cheen Meyer clutched her ankle, a look of pain on her face, yet she still wouldn't let up with her words. Old lady, it was clearly you who started it, wasn't it? I was just acting in self-defense. Cao Boyi looked down at her, examining this sharp-tongued woman with a playful expression. You little brat, what are you looking at? Hurry up and help me up. Cheen Meyer glared fiercely at Cao Boyi with her seductive, fox-like eyes. Cao Boyi knew he was in the wrong. He had been a bit too heavy-handed just now, so he grabbed Cheen Meyer's wrist and pulled her up. The woman had a typically bony figure, a slender waist and long legs, with very little flesh from top to bottom. However, strangely enough, the sensation transmitted from her wrist was soft, with a boneless, tender feeling. Cao Boyi looked disgusted. Indeed, not many women with the surname Cheen were any good. Director Cheen Wenman was like that, and Cheen Meyer was even more so. She was practically a lunatic. Cao Boyi stopped paying attention to her, took a bank card out of his pocket, and handed it to Dang Bo. There's over 5 million in cash in here. Help me open a VIP account. 5 million. Dang Bo took the card with trembling hands, his face full of disbelief. This boy who looked like a college student could actually produce $5 million in cash. $5 million, what a big mouth. Jean Meyer sat on a chair in the lobby, pouting her lips, rubbing her ankle indignantly. In her view, although her methods were a bit extreme, they were well-intentioned. Who knew that not only did the other party not appreciate it, but he also used force against her, showing absolutely no chivalry. Since she was little, she had never suffered such grievances. Isn't he just a rich second generation with some stinking money? What's he acting so arrogant for? Under Dangbo's guidance, the account opening process was quickly completed. Mr. Cao, the account opening procedures have been completed for you. You are a VIP client of our Xiangnan Securities and will enjoy preferential commission rates. Dangbo presented the ID card and bank card with both hands. Seeing this scene, Jean Meyer, who was standing to the side, couldn't help but mock. That serval look, he really looks like a pug. Dangbo didn't dare to retort and could only smile bitterly. Not only did this young lady have a fiery temper, but she was also well-connected. He dared not provoke her. Cao Boyi couldn't be bothered with this drunkard and went to the computer in the lobby to log into his securities account. Teletechnology was currently priced at 25.2 yuan, firmly locked at the daily limit down with a 10% drop, with sell orders piling up like a mountain. Leaving 500,000 as a reserve, Cao Boyi prepared to buy in with the remaining 4 million in funds. You little beast, are you crazy? Buying this trash stock with 4 million? Jean Meyer appeared behind Cao Boyi at some point, covering her small mouth in disbelief. Cao Boyi, who was immersed in his work, was startled and said angrily, "Enough! You're pestering me like a fly. You, how could you be like this? I was kindly reminding you, yet you don't know what's good for you." Looking at the woman's aggrieved expression, Cao Boyi felt like his fist had hit cotton. After being reborn, his mindset seemed to have changed. He had absolutely no resistance to mature beauties. Snap! Cao Boyi clicked the mouse, buying in with all 4 million in funds. A sharp drop accompanied by massive volume. The 5-day moving average is crossed below the 20-day moving average, forming a death cross. This is clearly a sign of the main force fleeing. Jean Meyer smoothed her stray hair and said word by word. However, almost at the moment her voice fell, the K-line, which had been firmly nailed to the daily limit down, suddenly surged upward like a giant dragon awakened from its slumber. A large number of buy orders appeared on the board, and the bulls suddenly began to exert force. In just a few minutes, the stock price soared all the way from near the daily limit down, rushing straight to the daily limit up. The K-line stopped jumping. 680,000 lots of buy orders, sealing the daily limit. A floor-to-ceiling limit. Jean Meyer rubbed her eyes in disbelief, repeatedly confirming the information on the board. Cao Boyi was also stunned. Logically, it shouldn't have been this fast. It hit the daily limit less than 3 seconds after he bought it. What he didn't know was that several large funds had their eyes on this stock. Cao Boyi's massive million-dollar buy order was seen by all parties as a signal to ignite the market. Consequently, they entered the market one after another, scrambling to buy chips. You, who exactly are you? Jean Meyer's originally hazy eyes were now wide open, filled with terror. A Stanford graduate, she had served as an analyst at Goldman Sachs for a full 8 years. She had never seen such a miraculous scene. What was even more unbelievable was that this actually happened to a boy who looked like a college student. Countless possibilities flashed through Jean Meyer's mind. Could this guy be some hot money mogul? So what? If you dare to bully me, Jean Meyer, whoever you are, you will pay the price. Jean Meyer seemed to have thought of something, and a sly smile quietly curled at the corner of her mouth. Hating evil as she did, she hated these hot money players who harvested retail investors and disrupted market order the most. She rushed forward angrily, grabbed Cao Boyi's arm, and walked toward the office inside. "Let go of me, what are you doing?" Caught off guard, Cao Boyi waved his hands, trying to break free from her restraint. However, Jean Meyer's hands gripped his arm tightly like iron pincers. Pushing open the half-closed office door, a wave of cold air mixed with a faint smell of alcohol rushed toward them. The air conditioner was running tirelessly, emitting a low, buzzing sound. Several empty beer bottles were lying scattered on the sofa. Meyer bent down to tidy up the beer bottles, and Cao Boyi prepared to seize this gap to slip away quickly. "You stop right there. If you dare to move a step, I'll call for help." Seeing that Cao Boyi didn't react, Meyer suddenly raised her head and shouted loudly toward the door. "Help! Someone is trying to—" "Young lady, don't shout. I won't leave, is that okay?" Cao Boyi stepped forward quickly and covered Meyer's mouth. This woman was truly a lunatic. She would actually joke about her own chastity. "Hee, weren't you quite arrogant just now?" Meyer crossed her arms over her chest, looking triumphant. "You think you can run after bullying me? Believe it or not, I'll scream molestation. I'm sorry, Annie. It was my fault just now. You are magnanimous. Please don't hold it against me. When under someone else's roof, one has to bow their head." Cao Boyi could only show weakness first to stabilize this woman. He didn't check the calendar before going out today. He actually ran into such a psycho, yet he couldn't do anything about her. He couldn't hit her, and he couldn't run away. "Yo, know you're afraid now? Weren't you quite arrogant just now?" Meyer crossed her beautiful legs in black silk stockings, looking at Cao Boyi with a playful expression. Although this young lad was very impolite, he was quite handsome. With a high-nose bridge and sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, he perfectly matched her aesthetic. Cao Boyi knew he couldn't escape. If he didn't let this woman get her revenge, she wouldn't let it go. "Brat, I'll let you die knowing why." Meyer picked up the cigarette case nearby, pulled one out, and lit it. "First, I kindly reminded you, but you didn't appreciate it. That is returning kindness with ingratitude. Second, as a man, it's one thing not to know how to cherish women, but you even used force against me. That's bullying the weak. Third, I am so beautiful, yet you spoke harshly to me and deliberately called me Annie to annoy me." Speaking of this, Meyer subconsciously lifted her chin, as if showing off her beauty. Cao Boyi was dumbfounded. What kind of twisted logic was this? It made him seem like he had committed some heinous crime. However, arguing with a woman was really an unwise choice, especially a drunk, crazy woman. Cao Boyi gave a bitter smile and decided to just give up and accept his fate. "Andy, it's my fault. Do whatever you want with me." "Very good. A child who can admit their mistakes is a good child." Meyer nodded with satisfaction, but she didn't intend to let Cao Boyi off that easily. Growing up, which of all the men she had met didn't revolve around her and pamper her? When had she ever suffered such treatment? If she didn't humiliate Cao Boyi properly, she really couldn't quell the hatred in her heart. "I accidentally sprained my foot because of you earlier, and it still hurts a bit. Then I'll punish you by having you massage my feet." "What the hell? A foot massage?" Cao Boyi was stunned. In his past life, he was at least a prominent figure in northern Myanmar, and many big shots would give him some face. Now, not only was he being controlled by a woman, but he also had to give her a foot massage like a servant. Humiliation, absolute humiliation. Seeing Cao Boyi's reluctant appearance, Meyer felt a surge of secret satisfaction. Making a chauvinistic man who didn't respect women give her a foot massage. Wasn't this the ultimate humiliation? "What? You're not willing? If you don't make me feel comfortable today, I guarantee you'll pay a heavy price. I'll go to your school and cause a scene, telling everyone you molested me and got me pregnant. Then let's see how you can survive at school." Meyer bared her little fangs, her face full of threats. Hearing this, Cao Boyi was shocked. This woman was far more vicious than he had imagined. She was actually willing to use her own innocence as a joke to threaten him. "Fine, I'll massage you." Cao Boyi bent down and crouched on the ground, his eyes full of humiliation. Living a new life, he didn't want his reputation ruined over such a trivial matter. He might as well take this opportunity to test the effects of the massage technique and consider it a favor to this crazy woman. Besides, was this really a punishment? "Lift your leg." Cao Boyi took off her high heels and gently lifted her leg onto his own lap. Her small feet were wrapped in black silk, and through the thin stocking fabric, deep purple nail polish was faintly visible. It was a rare, grape-like appearance. Cao Boyi slowly reached out his hands, gently gripping her soft, boneless ankle, his knuckles slightly bent, applying just the right amount of pressure. Under the effect of the massage technique, Meyer felt a wave of warmth from the soles of her feet. Soon after, a warm current surged throughout her body, making her feel as if she were soaking in a hot spring, and her fatigue instantly vanished. Meyer slowly closed her eyes, her long eyelashes trembling slightly, a look of enjoyment appearing on her face. This kid really had some skills. He was massaging so comfortably, even more professionally than the technicians at a massage parlor. Cao Boyi completely accepted reality. He had really fallen into a trap today. Fortunately, Meyer's feet were clean, not only odorless, but also smelling of leather mixed with a faint scent of perfume. After a while, looking at Cao Boyi, who was massaging her with such seriousness, Meyer suddenly felt something was wrong. This kid isn't angry at all, but rather looks like he's enjoying it, giving the impression that he's having fun. He could tolerate this? What a wimp. Meyer pondered for a long time, but still couldn't come up with an answer. However, as a troublemaker, she naturally wouldn't let it go. She had to teach Cao Boyi a harsh lesson. After thinking it over, she kicked off her other high heel and lifted her leg to rest it on Cao Boyi's shoulder. Oh, not bad skills. Massage this one for me later too. Meyer snorted coldly and narrowed her eyes slightly. Cao Boyi remained expressionless, repeating his hand movements without a word. Seeing his indifferent attitude, Meyer felt extremely annoyed. After all that, this kid's previous submissive appearance was all an act. He was still unconvinced. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being rude. Meyer made up her mind. She had to teach Cao Boyi a lesson, preferably one that would make him fear her for the rest of his life. Meyer lay on the sofa and closed her eyes, pretending to sleep. About 10 minutes later, she stealthily opened her eyes a crack, observing him without making a sound. Now is the time. Meyer suddenly lifted her other foot and kicked it towards Cao Boyi's head. Holy crap! Cao Boyi couldn't dodge in time. Covering his face, he felt his vision go black. The crazy woman didn't play fair, actually launching a sneak attack on him. Ha ha, you little brat. You dare to fight me. If I don't beat you into submission, my name isn't Cheen. How was it? Did you like it? Meyer held her stomach and laughed without any decorum. She hadn't been this happy in a long time. Bullying this rebellious young boy was truly an incredibly joyful thing. Just as Cao Boyi was about to reply that it tasted good, the phone on the office desk suddenly rang. Dinkling, dinkling, Meyer picked up the phone and glanced at the screen. It was her mother calling, so she immediately pressed the answer button. Hello, what is it? Meyer, your sister was in a car accident and is now unconscious. You need to come to the People's Hospital quickly. An urgent voice came from the other end of the line. Sister, a car accident? The smile on Meyer's face instantly vanished, and she froze in place as if struck by lightning. Since she was little, besides her parents, her sister had always loved her the most. She was fine yesterday. How could she? Meyer's tears gushed out uncontrollably, and her delicate body trembled violently. I'm sorry. It was my fault earlier. I shouldn't have teased you like that. My sister had a car accident. Can you take me to the hospital? I will repay you well afterwards. Meyer had completely lost her arrogant and domineering attitude, looking at Cao Boyi with a pleading expression. Seeing the woman with tears streaming down her face like rain on a pear blossom, Cao Boyi really couldn't bear to refuse. After all, she had just treated him to chocolate cake. So he nodded. Do you have a car? I'll drive you there. Yes, it's in the bag on the table. Please get it. I don't think I can move. Meyer exerted all her strength, trying to lift her heavy legs. However, no matter how she struggled, her feet remained as if nailed to the ground, not moving an inch. Cao Boyi naturally knew what was going on. When a person is in extreme grief, their body can lose the ability to move. In his past life, after learning the news of his mother's death, he had also experienced this feeling. A car accident, Another car accident. Cao Boyi forced himself to pull his thoughts back, scooped Meyer up, grabbed the bag, and walked quickly towards the parking lot. It's that pink car. Meyer pointed to the pink BMW Z for not far away. Cao Boyi quickly opened the car door, placed Meyer in the passenger seat, and fastened her seatbelt. It's really strange. How is this car exactly the same as Director Winman's? Just a different color. Could they be related? Putting aside his doubts, Cao Boyi started the vehicle, pulled the gear lever to the right, and switched the car to manual mode. He floored the gas pedal, and the sports car raced forward like a wild horse off its leash. Relying on his driving experience from his past life, plus the driving skills from the system's military skills, the original 30-minute journey took only 10 minutes to reach the destination. I still can't move. Meyer looked at Cao Boyi with pleading and helplessness in her eyes, looking pitiful. The latter did not hesitate at all, picked up Meyer again, and ran towards the emergency department. Meyer buried her head in Cao Boyi's arms. The man's embrace was broad and warm, carrying a faint masculine scent, which made her feel much more at ease. Make way, make way. Cao Boyi pushed through the crowd, arrived at the operating room door, and placed Meyer on a chair nearby. At this moment, the door of the operating room slowly opened with a creak. The doctor and nurses pushed a stretcher out quickly. A woman lay quietly on it, her forehead wrapped in gauze, her face as pale as paper. Director Chen. Meyer's sister was actually Director Winman. Cao Boyi never imagined in a million years that such a coincidence could happen in this world. But come to think of it, it made sense. The same surname, the same sports car, and that identical, eccentric temper. Dad, Mom, how's my sister doing? Meyer forced herself to stand up and hurried over to the couple in a few quick steps. The man was around 60 years old, wearing an administrative jacket, with graying hair combed meticulously. He had a standard square face, exuding an aura of authority that commanded respect without needing anger. The woman looked somewhat similar to the Chen sisters. She was wearing a silk dress and had a slightly plump figure. These must be Meyer's parents. Director Winman is fine. She suffered a severe impact to the brain, which caused her to lose consciousness. The surgery was very successful, and she should wake up by tonight. Hai let out a long sigh of relief, then immediately turned to Meyer with anger. Look at you drunk like this. You're already 34, and you aren't even dating. Do you plan on growing old, all alone? You graduated from a prestigious university and had a good job abroad, yet you insisted on coming back to the country. You do nothing all day long. If people didn't know better, they'd think you were a delinquent. Hai's old face was full of disappointment and helplessness. His younger daughter had a stubborn personality and did whatever she pleased. She originally had a stable job abroad, but for some reason, she suddenly resigned and returned home. She spent her days in a daze, accompanied by alcohol. Cao Boyi wasn't interested in other people's family matters, so he quietly slipped away. Ding dong, ding dong. Just as he stepped out of the hospital, his phone notification rang. He opened it and saw a message from Tang Weiwei. Are you free right now? I'm currently helping Annie Jiang look at some houses, and I'd like to invite you over for dinner. Annie Jiang? Jiang wanting? Cao Boyi checked the time. It was 6:30 p.m. He didn't have anything else to do, so he immediately agreed. Maybe this would even help increase Annie Jiang's favorability. Jiang Wanting's favorability was currently stuck at 42 and hadn't moved for a long time. Driver, take me to the Hongya residential district in Hushi. Sitting in the taxi, Cao Boyi checked his stock account. It hit the daily limit, a 20% increase, and his account balance went from 4 million to 4.8 million. If he weren't completely clueless about the financial industry, he could live comfortably for the rest of his life just by trading stocks. The taxi stopped at the entrance of the residential complex, and Cao Boyi relied on his memory to find Tang Weiwei's home. Knock, knock, knock. Cao Boyi didn't have a key, so he had to knock. However, he did possess the key to opening up the mistress of the house. Oh, it's little Cao. The door opened quickly, and it was Jiang Wanting. She was wearing the iconic pink uniform dress of Holloland. Her hair was coiled back, and she wore light makeup. Her slender legs were wrapped in nude-colored stockings, the delicacy of her skin faintly visible, and she wore a pair of nude-colored flats. Cao Boyi subconsciously thought of the famous blogger, Brother Ichiang. However, the mature and charming Annie Jiang was infinitely more beautiful than the heroine in those videos. Cao Boyi greeted her with a smile and walked inside. He saw Tang Weiwei sitting on the sofa, holding a bag of potato chips and watching TV with great interest. Looks like they're getting along well. She even brought her home. Cao Boyi muttered to himself. Little Cao, you and Weiwei stay here. Auntie is going to the market to buy some groceries. Auntie will cook dinner to properly thank you and Weiwei. Jiang Wanting's face was beaming with smiles, and she was in a very good mood. Yesterday, she had carefully reviewed the advice Cao Boyi gave her and found it very reasonable, so she quickly contacted Tang Weiwei. She took a day off today to specifically come over to look at houses. After interacting, the two women, who both had unhappy marriages and were of similar age, quickly became good sisters. Clang. Jiang Wanting picked up her car keys and went out to buy groceries. Tang Weiwei immediately stood up, her gaze scrutinizing. Confess honestly, what is your relationship with Sister Wanting? When he walked in, she had noticed that the way Cao Boyi looked at Jiang Wanting was a bit off. That look wasn't a junior looking at an elder. It was more like a man looking at a woman. What nonsense are you spouting? Annie Jiang is 20 years older than me. How could it be what you're thinking? Cao Boyi felt guilty deep down, but he still pretended to be nonchalant. Tang Weiwei clearly didn't believe his words, crossing her arms and retorting. So what? I'm 12 years older than you, and didn't we? Recalling the scene from last time, a blush couldn't help but rise on Tang Weiwei's face. Youth was an asset, and on top of that, Cao Boyi's innate talent was infinitely stronger than her damn husband's. Cao Boyi glanced at the wedding photo on the wall, then looked at Tang Weiwei with a playful smile. Sister, let's take this opportunity to— No, not in the living room. Tang Weiwei shook her head like a rattle drum, then pointed to the bedroom inside. Women are emotional creatures by nature. When impulsive, they can abandon all reason and reserve. Last time, it was because her husband was in the wrong first, and she had been so crazy out of pure anger. Now that she had calmed down, she felt ashamed and guilty about her actions. Naturally, she couldn't accept doing it under the photo frame now. She despised her husband. That was true, but they had been a married couple after all, and they had children together. As a mother, she didn't allow herself to have no bottom line. Cao Boyi listened and smiled calmly. Sister, don't worry, brother-in-law won't mind. After speaking, he looked at the man in the photo, his tone sincere. Brother-in-law, you stay inside properly. I will take good care of Sister Weiwei for you. If you don't agree, just shake your head. Otherwise, I'll take it as your consent. Sister, look, brother-in-law agreed. Cao Boyi curled his lips, his hand firmly holding her chin as he made her look at the photo on the wall. 40 minutes later, ring-a-ling, ring-a-ling. Just as Cao Boyi was in the middle of his intense efforts, the phone rang. Tang Weiwei answered in a panic, and Jiang Wanting's lingering complaint came through. Weiwei, where did you and little Cao go? I've been knocking at the door for a long time, and there was no response. We're home. I'm coming to open the door right now. Tang Weiwei hurriedly hung up the phone and wiped the corners of her mouth. As a real estate agent, eloquence was her strength. Opening the door, Jiang Wanting was bending over with her head down, holding several shopping bags in her hands. So tired, my hands are sore. Jiang Wanting walked quickly into the room and placed the groceries on the dining table. She looked at Tang Weiwei, who was flushed and walking with a limp, and asked with concern, What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Tang Weiwei, feeling guilty, gave a soft and turned her head to the side. At 18 years old, it could be said to be unlimited firepower. Jiang Wanting blinked, showing a puzzled expression. Are you going to go to the supermarket after dinner? I heard you guys discussing it from far away. It must be that new supermarket nearby, right? Shopping spree at the supermarket? Jiang Wanting carried the ingredients into the kitchen and started bustling about with a clatter. During this time, Tang Weiwei and Cao Boyi wanted to go in to help, but both were sternly refused. Weiwei, you've been busy all afternoon with my affairs. How could I let you cook? Little Cao, the same goes for you. You must be exhausted after a whole day of military training at school. Just sit on the sofa and watch some TV. The two nodded simultaneously and did not insist further. They had just finished exercising and were indeed somewhat exhausted, especially Tang Weiwei. Her legs were weak, and she didn't even have the strength to walk. Stir-fried meat with chili, beer duck, braised pork, pork ribs and black bean sauce, stir-fried shredded potatoes. Dish after dish of steaming hot food was placed on the dining table. Jiang Wanting untied her apron, wiped the fine beads of sweat from her forehead, and said with a smile, "Time to eat." Looking at the dishes on the table, which were perfect in color, aroma, and taste, Cao Boyi couldn't help but sigh in admiration. Auntie's cooking skills are truly amazing. Unlike those pampered young ladies who are used to being waited on, they can't even wash dishes, let alone cook. At this moment, he realized he liked Annie more and more. Cao Boyi found a seat and sat down, while the two women sat opposite him. They sat close together, like a pair of good sisters. Boyi, will Star City really develop towards the west in the future? How come I haven't heard any news about this? Tang Weiwei asked, looking curious. As a real estate agent, she naturally had a keen sense for policy. When she met with Jiang Wanting in the afternoon, she was startled by the ideas the other woman proposed. After some discussion, she realized that these theories were Cao Boyi's ideas. How could a student who had just started university have such unique insights into urban development? That's right. It is expected that a policy will be released early next year, and by then, housing prices in Hushi will rise by 1 to 2 times. Cao Boyi picked up his water glass, took a sip, and expressed his viewpoint confidently. In his previous life, after this policy was released, Annie Chen Meijing had even taken out some spare money to join the ranks of house speculators. He had even accompanied her to look at quite a few houses, but by then, housing prices had already undergone earth-shattering changes. Many properties with excellent geographical locations and perfect supporting facilities had already risen several times in price, losing their investment value. A flash of excitement crossed Tang Weiwei's eyes, but it was quickly replaced by disappointment. So what if she knew the news in advance? She was just a small real estate agent, and her husband was only a taxi driver. There were no savings at home, let alone spare money to buy houses for investment. Jiang Wanting was different. She didn't participate in the conversation and kept her head down, eating her meal. She didn't have so many thoughts. She just wanted to own a house that belonged to her, a home that belonged to her. This was her obsession and her lifelong wish. If only there could be a man, that would be even better. Thinking of this, she inexplicably cast her gaze towards. Cao Boyi was completely unaware of this. After pondering for a moment, he said to Tang Weiwei, "Sister, please keep an eye out for houses in Yinxin Garden for me during this time. The same residential complex you recommended I rent in last time." Yinxin Garden? You want to rent a house again? Tang Weiwei was full of questions. This little boy was becoming more and more mysterious. He had rented 2 houses in the shantytown, but had never moved in, just leaving them empty there. She didn't know what he wanted to do by renting so many houses. "No." Cao Boyi shook his head and said in a deep tone, "I'm not renting this time. I'm buying directly." "Buying a house? You're a student. Do you have that much money?" Tang Weiwei was full of astonishment. Although housing prices in the west of the city were not high, with an average price of only 5,000 or 6,000, buying a good unit would still cost several $100,000. Cao Boyi smiled faintly. "That's nothing for you to worry about, sister. In any case, your agency fee won't be missing. Not only am I going to buy, but I'm going to buy 5 or 6 units for investment." After this wave of market trends for teletechnology was over, his assets would at least exceed 10 million. By then, taking out a portion to speculate on real estate was the fastest way he could think of to make money. Those novels always talked about investing in internet companies or getting rich by speculating in Bitcoin. In actual practice, it was simply not realistic. Not to mention whether there was that much startup capital, A company with significant prospects would simply not accept investment from ordinary people. The big shots all had their own small circles. Furthermore, Cao Boyi did not intend to invest in other people's companies. As someone who had been reborn, there was no need to live under someone else's roof. Wouldn't it be better to start one himself? Of course, that was a topic for later. For now, the priority was accumulating initial capital, and he would look for suitable opportunities in the future. 5 or 6 units. Jiang Wanting and Tang Weiwei both put down their chopsticks at the same time and stared blankly at Cao Boyi. Purchasing 5 or 6 properties at once meant he could only pay in full and could not take out a mortgage. Even in the west of the city, that would cost several million. Where an 18-year-old boy gets so much money? Looking at his confident appearance, it really didn't look like he was joking. Their impression of Cao Boyi changed once again. Yes, it must be houses in Inxin Garden, and they need to have good layouts. Don't worry about the price factor. Also, it's best if the sellers are from out of town, Cao Boyi said, enunciating every word. No one could accept that the house they had just sold would skyrocket in value shortly after. Although both parties would sign a sales contract, human nature could not withstand the test, and it was inevitable that there would be resentment. People from out of town didn't have complicated connections in Star City, which could save a lot of unnecessary trouble. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for you. Tang Weiwei excitedly grabbed Cao Boyi's arm and shook it back and forth. Once this transaction was successful, she would earn a considerable commission from it. This intimate gesture instantly attracted Jiang Wanting's attention. She always felt that the actions between the two were a bit strange. They were too intimate to be just ordinary friends. Combined with the strange sound she heard at the door earlier. Was it really just going to the supermarket to go on a shopping spree? The meal was finished quickly, and Tang Weiwei had to go to her mother-in-law's house to pick up her child for feeding. Cao Boyi got into Jiang Wanting's Corolla, and they drove towards the east of the city, intending to drop Cao Boyi home first. The car stopped at the entrance of Jingxiu Jiangshan residential complex, and Jiang Wanting stared blankly at the boy beside her. For some reason, she felt a sour sensation in her heart and a sense of crisis, as if something important could be snatched away at any moment. She smoothed the stray hairs on her forehead and gathered the courage to ask, "Little Cao, may I ask, what is your relationship with Weiwei?" Cao Boyi was suddenly startled. Could Annie Jiang have noticed something? Top-tier acting skills came into play at this moment. Cao Boyi scratched his head and replied with a puzzled look, "We are just ordinary friends. We met when I was renting a house before. Is there something the matter, Annie Jiang?" "No, nothing, just a little curious." Jiang Wanting's pretty face flushed red, and she turned her head away. Cao Boyi opened the car door, preparing to get out. Just at this moment, the system notification sound rang out. Ding! System task released. Jiang Wanting's husband suspect she is having an affair and is already lying in wait at their front door. Preparing to question her, the two are about to have a heated argument, and a desperate and furious Zhou Tao is going to beat Jiang Wanting. Please, host, prevent this incident from happening. Reward. Skyrocketing Insole X2. Another pair of height-increasing insoles. Cao Boyi felt a surge of joy in his heart and immediately retracted the right foot he had just stepped forward. Putting the reward list aside, simply based on his feelings for Annie Jiang, he wouldn't let her suffer any harm. "Auntie, it's so late, and I'm worried that it's not safe for you to be alone. Let me see you home first, and I'll take a taxi back." "That's too much trouble. I'm not a young girl anymore. There's no need to be so fussy. Haven't you seen the news? Just yesterday, a middle-aged woman was walking home alone at night and got robbed." "Robbed?" Jiang Wanting's heart tightened, and she instinctively covered her small mouth. "Yeah, it's a good thing she wasn't pretty otherwise," Cao Boyi said with feigned seriousness, his expression grave. "Then I'll trouble you. I'll give you the taxi money later. I can't have you making a wasted trip." Jiang Wanting was genuinely scared, her hands trembling slightly on the steering wheel. If she really encountered any robbers, she, a weak woman, would have no way to resist. Public security in this era wasn't great. Everywhere on the streets, You could see punks whistling lewdly at passing girls. Ever since she separated from her husband, she hadn't dared to go out alone at night. Oh, why are the shoes still here? Cao Boyi's peripheral vision inadvertently swept over the back seat, and he saw the Valentino shopping bag lying there quietly. He had bought it while they were shopping earlier, and fearing that Annie Jiang would refuse, he had secretly placed it on the back seat. Who knew that so much time had passed, and she still hadn't noticed? About 10 minutes later, they arrived downstairs at her rental apartment. Cao Boyi grabbed a shopping bag and handed it to Jiang Wanting. "Auntie, these high heels are actually for you." "For me?" "No, I can't accept such an expensive gift." Jiang Wanting hurriedly waved her hands to decline. She had already felt very embarrassed last time after accepting so many valuable gifts. If she accepted these high heels worth several thousand yuan again, how would she be any different from the gold diggers in society? Although the shoes were beautiful and she liked them a lot, her self-respect told her she couldn't do it. "It's just a pair of shoes. We're good friends. It's normal to give each other gifts. Last time you bought me clothes, and today you even cooked a delicious meal for me personally. Didn't I accept that without being overly polite? That's different. Those meals didn't cost much, and besides, Annie ate them too. How about this? I'll come over to your place for a meal again in a while, and you can make me abalone. I love abalone the most." Cao Boyi deliberately mentioned a more expensive ingredient to give Jiang Wanting a sense of reciprocity. "All right, I'll call you when the time comes. Just ask for whatever you want to eat, and I'll make it all for you. Don't give me such expensive gifts in the future, or Annie won't talk to you anymore." After much persuasion, Jiang Wanting finally agreed to accept the high heels, silently vowing to herself that she would prepare thoroughly and personally cook a sumptuous meal for little Cao when the time came. The old residential building had no elevator, so they had to take the stairs. Jiang Wanting's light footsteps made faint tap-tap sounds on the steps. Cao Boyi followed quietly behind, his gaze involuntarily falling on those beautiful, sheer stocking-clad legs that looked like works of art. As her skirt swayed, glimpses of scenery were revealed, and the flat shoes on her feet added a touch of gentle temperament, making her look like a housewife from a Korean comic. The dim lights in the hallway flickered, emitting a harsh buzzing sound. Jiang Wanting opened her handbag to rummage for her keys. Suddenly, a robust figure darted out from the darkness and blocked her path. Jiang Wanting looked up in terror, and Zhou Tao's twisted, ferocious face came into view. "You slut! Coming home so late. Where have you been messing around? Damn it! Do you know how long I've been waiting for you here?" Zhou Tao said viciously, then immediately noticed the branded shopping bag in Jiang Wanting's hand and Cao Boyi following behind. He suddenly realized what was happening, feeling as if he had been cuckolded. "You bitch! I knew something was wrong with you, and now you're actually keeping a gigolo behind my back." A fierce light flashed in Zhou Tao's eyes, and the veins on his thick neck instantly bulged. As a man, the thing he couldn't tolerate most was betrayal. Even though there was no affection left between them, he still couldn't stand his wife being touched by someone else. Jiang Wanting's personality had always been weak, and she had chosen to endure Zhou Tao's repeated insults time and again. But even a clay bodhisattva has a temper, and today she simply couldn't take it anymore. The grievances and anger long suppressed in her heart erupted like a dam bursting. "What nonsense are you spouting again? It's not what you think," Jiang Wanting said, incensed. Hearing this, Zhou Tao was taken aback for a moment, and an inexplicable rage quickly flared up. "You dare talk back? That's a pair of high heels in your hand, right? Dressing up all flashy, isn't it just to seduce men? Since you like being a slut so much, why don't you just go sell yourself? I can find a place for you." The vicious words poured out of Zhou Tao's mouth like machine gun bullets. Cao Boyi couldn't stand listening to this filth anymore and rushed forward, slapping him across the face. With the Tongbei Fist Grandmaster bonus, this slap was powerful and heavy, whistling as it cut through the air. Smack! The crisp sound of the slap broke the silence of the night. Caught off guard, Zhou Tao was sent flying by the slap and slammed heavily into the wall. He only felt stars spinning before his eyes, his mouth trembling uncontrollably, and he was in too much pain to speak. Glancing at Zhou Tao, whose face had swollen into a pig's head, Cao Boyi was very satisfied. The reputation of the Tongbei fist was truly well-deserved. It dealt high damage and was even more insulting. Don't hit him anymore, Jiang Wanting said, weeping, while holding back Cao Boyi, who wanted to continue beating him. She didn't want Cao Boyi to get into trouble for defending her, or even affect his future prospects. Huff! Zhou Tao sat on the ground, gasping for air, and it took a while for him to regain his senses. His mind clouded by anger, he pointed at Jiang Wanting and continued to curse. Whore! You shameless bitch! At your age, you could be this gigolo's mother. Shameless, promiscuous slut. Zhou Tao's words were like a sharp blade, stabbing deep into Jiang Wanting's heart. In nearly 20 years of marriage, even if she hadn't achieved great things, she had certainly put in the hard work. She hadn't expected to end up in such a state. Jiang Wanting felt a wave of desolation in her heart. Heartbroken and cold, she wiped away her tears, her gentle eyes gradually becoming indifferent, as if devoid of any emotion. Zhou, do you really want your wife to mess around outside that much? Fine, today I'll steal it right in front of you. Jiang Wanting was like a burning flame, having completely lost her reason. She forcefully pulled Cao Boyi over, wrapping her arms tightly around his neck as if to merge him into her own body. The next second, her tender lips pressed heavily onto Cao Boyi's, frantically and wantonly demanding. The 18-year-old boy and the 38-year-old mature woman embraced and kissed, as if the only things left in the entire world were each other. You adulterers! I'm going to kill you. Zhou Tao's eyes widened in rage, his pupils bloodshot. If he hadn't been so weak, he would have definitely rushed up to kill this pair of adulterers. Oh, Auntie, stop. Cao Boyi hadn't expected Auntie Jiang, overwhelmed by anger, to do such a thing. Auntie's mouth was fragrant and soft, but Zhou Tao was still watching from the side, and he didn't have the habit of engaging in cuckolding acts. Cao Boyi took the initiative, rushed forward, and slapped Zhou Tao again, then loudly questioned him. Why didn't you stop her? Watching your own wife do this right in front of you. Are you even a man? Are you even human? You animal, you're nothing but a beast. Zhou Tao clenched his fists, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. This goddamn pair of adulterers was just too arrogant. Not only did they not avoid him, but they actually turned the tables and accused him. Retribution. There will definitely be retribution. Jiang Wanting gradually calmed down, looked at Zhou Tao, and sneered. Are you satisfied now? Isn't this the scene you've been dreaming of seeing? There's something even more exciting coming up. Do you want to keep watching? It was as if Jiang Wanting had become a different person. Her gaze toward Zhou Tao was filled with mockery and provocation. Since things had come to this, she might as well break the pot and sink the boat, making a clean break with Zhou Tao once and for all. You bitch! Zhou Tao gritted his teeth for a long time, squeezing out these two words, before forcing himself to leave. Staying any longer would only be asking for humiliation, so it was better to have out of sight, out of mind, and deal with this bitch when the gigolo wasn't around. Auntie, are you okay? Cao Boyi wiped away her tears. Jiang Wanting's eyes shimmered with moisture, and as her gaze shifted, her pitiful appearance stirred feelings of compassion in others. Boyi, Annie was impulsive just now. My brain wasn't in control, and I actually made such a lewd gesture toward you. If I hurt you, Auntie sincerely apologizes and asks for your forgiveness. Auntie really is a shameless woman. Jiang Wanting lowered her head shyly, her incoherent words filled with self-reproach. She didn't know why she had made such a crazy move either. Perhaps it was because of the time they had spent together recently, but she had already developed feelings for the young man before her. Upon hearing this, Cao Boyi shook his head like a rattledrum. Auntie, that's not right of you to say. I've grown up this much, and that was my first time kissing a girl. You were just like a teacher, leading by example. All in all, I should thank you. Thank you for teaching me how to kiss. Hearing Cao Boyi's blunt words, Jiang Wanting's face turned even redder. She felt guilty, yet also a little excited. Thanks to you just now, why don't you come inside, sit down, and have a cup of tea before you go? Cao Boyi agreed, without even thinking, and followed closely behind her. As he bent down to change into slippers, the system's notification sound suddenly rang out. Ding, congratulations. Host Jiang wanting favorability +10. Current favorability 52. Please keep up the good work, hero. Saving the beauty really is the way to go. The favorability rating is about to break the 60 mark. Cao Boyi couldn't hide his joy, and his movements quickened a bit. You sit for a while, Annie will go make you some tea. Jiang wanting turned on the lights and went into the kitchen to boil water. After a busy day, and having fought with Tang Weiwei in the evening, Cao Boyi felt a bit tired at this moment. He lay on the sofa and stretched his arms. Cao Boyi felt something slide out of his pocket and instinctively reached out to touch it. It was hard. It turned out to be his phone. Wait, why was there also something soft? Cao Boyi turned his head to look down. Black lace. This couldn't be Annie's. Little Cao, you've worked hard. Come drink some tea to moisten your throat. Jiang wanting walked over carrying a teacup. Cao Boyi's muscles instantly tensed, and with a speed that the naked eye could barely catch, he quickly crumpled the fabric into a ball and gripped it in his palm. Seeing his unnatural demeanor, Jiang wanting asked with concern, "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" "No, nothing." Cao Boyi hurriedly took the cup and drank the tea in one gulp. Perhaps because he was flustered, he had unknowingly put the thing in his palm back into his pocket. The two sat and chatted for a while before Cao Boyi got up to leave. Before leaving, he specifically instructed Jiang wanting to remember to lock the door before going to sleep and to call him anytime if anything happened. As for that black fabric, it had long been completely forgotten. Bang! The security door slammed shut. Jiang wanting sat dazed on the sofa as the scenes from today kept playing in her mind. When she was about to be driven to a dead end, Cao Boyi had stood up with a whoosh to block in front of her. The feeling of a god descending from heaven stirred her long-sealed heart. What made her most ashamed was that she had actually taken the initiative to hug Cao Boyi and kiss him, and right in front of her husband. That was her daughter's classmate, a child exactly 20 years younger than her. Perhaps her husband was right. She was essentially a dissolute woman. Forget it. Let's just take it one step at a time. Jiang wanting rubbed her temples, stood up, and returned to the bedroom. Feeling restless, she took a pair of nail clippers from the drawer and trimmed the nails on her middle and ring fingers. The series of events that happened today made her feel incredibly vexed. She had to properly relax after taking a shower later. After trimming her nails, she began to look for clothes to change into. Suddenly, she seemed to think of something. She had prepared a shower before going out in the afternoon, but didn't have time, and the clothes she had taken down had been left on the sofa. Just now, little Cao couldn't have seen. Jiang wanting strode on her beautiful legs toward the living room. Looking around, the sofa was completely empty. She lifted the cushions to search, but still found nothing. Where are my clothes? I put them here after taking them down and haven't moved them. Could it be? Could it be? It was already 12 o'clock at night when Cao Boyi returned home. Along the way, he had been resting his eyes in the taxi and hadn't noticed anything amiss at all. He changed out of his dirty camouflage uniform and threw it into the washing machine. Just as he was clearing out his pockets, he suddenly discovered something unusual. What is this? Holy shit! Cao Boyi felt like he had been electrocuted, and his brain instantly crashed. It's over. Now I can't even wash myself clean if I jump into the Yellow River. I swear, I really didn't do it on purpose. It was just in the heat of the moment. Cao Boyi was very dejected. The favorability he had worked so hard to raise would likely be ruined in one fell swoop. After all, a woman as traditional as Annie Jiang could never tolerate such behavior. She would surely be very angry and hate him once she found out. Cao Boyi carefully folded the garment and hid it in the drawer under the desk in his bedroom. He covered it with a copy of How the Steel was tempered to avoid it being discovered by Annie Mei Jing when she returned from her business trip. It looked like he would have to wait for the next time, for a suitable opportunity to return it to Annie Jiang. As for using it for anything, he really hadn't thought about it. The next morning, a light drizzle fell from the sky, and military training was moved from outdoors to inside the gymnasium. Cao Boyi didn't ask for leave and arrived on time to participate in military training. It's him, that's him. What a ruthless guy. He adopted a good son on the first day of military training. Rumor has it his good son isn't just an ordinary person. He's the son of one of our school leaders. Along the way, many students recognized Cao Boyi and were whispering and gossiping. There were even a few good-looking girls who gathered the courage to come up and ask for his WeChat. In response, Cao Boyi refused without even thinking. Ever since he had tasted the goodness of an auntie, he couldn't muster the slightest interest in these little girls anymore. Everyone assemble in 15 minutes. The instructor's loud voice echoed inside the gymnasium. A middle-aged man with a receding hairline and a beer belly walked over. Comrade instructor, a student from our department, Su Shiji, has had something happen at home, and he won't be able to participate in military training for the next few days. This person was the counselor for the physical education department, and he was here to ask for leave on behalf of Su Shiji. Could it be because of what happened yesterday that he's too embarrassed to attend military training today? It's possible. That post has already gone viral, and many seniors know about it. The students were whispering and discussing. Cao Boyi knew that something had indeed happened at Su Shiji's home. His mother had been hospitalized due to a car accident. The spacious sports field resembled a massive chessboard, with square formations arranged like chess pieces. Military training had not yet begun, and students were gathered in groups of 3 or 5, chatting with each other. Morning, brother E. Seeing Cao Boyi, Lu Jian hurried over to greet him. He opened the Xiangnan University Tieba forum, clicked on a post on the homepage, and showed it to Cao Boyi. Hee, you're a celebrity among the freshmen at our school now. Quite a few upper-class women have left comments below asking for your contact information. Cao Boyi took the phone and looked. The content of the post was very simple. Salt. Freshman challenges instructor. Is it genuine skill, or is there a hidden story? Salt. Rich kid calls someone dad in public. What earth-shattering secret is hidden behind this? Cao Boyi was speechless after reading them. The original poster of these 2 threads was none other than Lu Dian. This kid really was a talent. He actually had a knack for clickbait. The content of the posts was quite simple, just 2 videos. One was of Cao Boyi competing with the instructor in drill movements. The other was the scene where Su Shiji made a fool of himself and called him dad after losing the bet. In the video, Cao Boyi looked very handsome. The camera had perfectly captured his well-defined profile, paired with his head held high, chest out, heroic demeanor. Many people had left comments below. The way he marches is so handsome. I feel like my maiden heart is about to explode into fireworks. I suggest a thorough investigation into whether this guy is a reincarnated soldier king. At least leave some face for the instructor. Does this freshman need a girlfriend? This upperclasswoman is a 36D. Give her rest. The person above is definitely a guy picking his feet. Cao Boyi couldn't help but laugh out loud. Perhaps this was just how college life was supposed to be. He wasn't one to act coy, so he immediately picked up his phone and registered a Tieba account. After thinking for a moment, he decided to name it Prime Minister Cao. Cao Boyi tapped on the screen with both hands, posting replies in the thread below these 2 posts. Prime Minister Cao. Hello everyone. I am the protagonist in the video. The internet is not a lawless place. I hope everyone will not spread rumors or believe them, and work together to create a positive online environment. Lu Jian also posted a special thread, tagging Cao Boyi. Lu Router. I've circled the handsome guy in the video for everyone. Ladies, seize the opportunity. Pai Minister Gao Xingzhong. Less than 3 minutes after the post went up, Cao Boyi's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Aside from system notifications for new followers, there were all sorts of random private messages. Some were asking for his contact information, others were asking to go to a hotel tonight to play poker. There were even people asking if he was looking for a boyfriend. Cao Boyi felt a shiver of disgust, turned off his phone screen, and ignored these messages. Attention! At ease! Military training was in full swing. After a day of training, the students gradually adapted to this state. Compared to the scorching sun, everyone was already quite satisfied to be able to have military training in the indoor gymnasium without exposure to the sun. Sophomore and junior students also returned to school one after another today, and many upperclassmen and upperclasswomen were watching from the stands, especially those single upperclassmen. Since they weren't favored by upperclasswomen, they could only set their sights on the new freshman girls. They were all dressed up gaudily, and a few even had fluffy afro hairstyles. There were still quite a lot of non-mainstream kids in this era. Students, I am now announcing a decision. Instructor Lee Yunlong stood in front of the formation, his gaze sweeping across the students. In view of student Cao Boyi's excellent performance, I am now appointing him as an instructor assistant to assist the instructors in conducting training. Appointing Cao Boyi as an assistant was the result of a joint discussion by the three instructors. Establishing a concrete role model had an undeniable effect on improving team management efficiency. How could I have such ability? Maybe we should just forget it. Cao Boyi wanted to refuse. He wasn't interested in these so-called titles. He just wanted to lie flat. No, that's an order, Instructor Lee Yunlong said with a serious face, pointing to the space in front of him. Come here and help supervise everyone's training. If there is anything that isn't standard, correct it at any time. Brother E, go for it. Lu Jian was howling with excitement. Now he could count on having someone covering him from above. Cao Boyi instantly became the focus of the field, attracting the admiring gazes of a large number of male students. As for the female students, it was admiration. Having someone who defeated the instructor guide, their training meant no one felt any dissatisfaction. Acting like a big shot, Zhou Zixuan muttered quietly, a wave of deep regret surging in her heart. This feeling was like having an inconspicuous, broken rock in your yard, which you found annoying and threw into the trash can. Then one day, someone else picked up the rock and said it contained imperial green jade, a treasure worth tens of millions. This feeling was even worse than eating shit. Zhou Zixuan was filled with regret. If only she had been nicer to Cao Boyi back then. If only she had given him more sweetness. How good that would have been. Attention everyone. Military posture for 40 minutes. Instructor Lee Yunlong quickly issued the command. Although this military training focused on practical combat training, military posture was still very important and could effectively improve the students' mental outlook. The students stood at attention, and the three instructors stood on the periphery of the formation, patrolling. Cao Boyi wove through the crowd, correcting the students' movements. Student, don't hunch your chest and back, chest out, head up, shoulders naturally relaxed and lowered. Don't let your center of gravity fall on your heels. It will cause you to be unstable and fall over. Cao Boyi was very diligent, correcting the students' wrong movements hand in hand. Then, he discovered a strange phenomenon. Some female students seemed to be intentionally making mistakes, waiting for him to correct them. Things like their heads being tilted, feet not together, or arms not touching the seams of their pants. There was even a pretty girl with twin tails, maybe a 7 out of 10, who pretended to faint while Cao Boyi was correcting her posture. Cao Boyi didn't stand on ceremony. He took the opportunity to grab her twin tails and helped her to the side to rest. However, a tank from the physical education department who practiced weightlifting wanted to imitate her, but was sternly rejected by Cao Boyi. Just then, an untimely voice rang out. Borrowing the tiger's might? You really think you're someone special? Zhou Zixuan really couldn't take it anymore. Watching Cao Boyi being treated like a star was worse than killing her. Oh, what did you say? Cao Boyi looked at her coldly. I said, you are just a student like everyone else. What right do you have to lecture us? Zhou Zixuan asked with a dark face, acting righteous. She just couldn't stand seeing Cao Boyi look so smug. He was once just her dog. So what if his wings had hardened? How dare he act so arrogant in front of his master? The atmosphere on the field suddenly turned strange. No one expected someone to challenge Cao Boyi, who was currently in the limelight. Moreover, the challenger was a girl from the art department. If it had been a guy, everyone might have thought he was just picking a fight. But with a girl, and an extremely pretty girl at that, quite a few boys actually felt she had a point. This is the twisted perception held by many boys today, subconsciously believing that beautiful women are high and mighty, unreachable existences. Some even develop cognitive biases due to self-deprecation, believing that whatever the other person says is correct, regardless of whether their viewpoint is reasonable. Sure enough, several boys immediately stood up to speak for Zhou Zishuan. Yeah, he's just a student too. What right does he have to train us? That girl from the art department seems to have a point. He isn't an instructor, so isn't it against the rules for him to be training us? Hearing this, Cao Boyi wasn't angry at all. Instead, a smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. People like this are politely called reasonable because of beauty, but to put it bluntly, they are just simps. But had he himself not been one of them once? Shut up. Since the instructor has given me this authority, I will fulfill my duty. I will correct any improper posture. I will treat everyone equally. Cao Boyi's tone carried an unquestionable weight. Then, he scanned the surroundings and let his gaze fall on Zhou Zishuan, his tone cold as he said, "This student, you didn't report before speaking, and you talked back to the instructor. I order you to stand for an additional 20 minutes. Hey, you say stand and I stand? On what grounds?" Zhou Zishuan raised her eyebrows, her eyes filled with provocation. On what grounds? Cao Boyi furrowed his brows, looking sharply at Zhou Zishuan. The latter was startled by this gaze, but with her innate arrogance, she couldn't just back down like that. What are you doing? Are you trying to hit a woman?" Zhou Zishuan's eyes welled up with tears, putting on a pitiful expression, as if she had suffered a grave injustice. This was where her cleverness lay. She knew how to fully utilize her advantages. She immediately slapped him with the label of bullying a female student, putting him in a difficult position where he could not back down. At this moment, Instructor Li Yunlong, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke. Enough. Cao Boyi is an assistant I personally appointed. His words represent my words, and his commands are my commands. If any student is dissatisfied, you can go file a complaint against me. Instructor Li Yunlong settled the matter with finality, and no one dared to refute him again. In truth, most people still felt that Cao Boyi hadn't done anything wrong. He was simply fulfilling his duties earnestly. As for Zhou Zishuan, apart from a few simps, no one supported her. Some female students even cast hostile glances in her direction. What? Trying to use this method to get the male god's attention? Puffed. Shameless. Time ticked by, second by second. Instructor Li Yunlong glanced at his watch and immediately issued an order. Except for that girl who has to stand for an additional 20 minutes. Everyone else, rest on the spot. The words rest on the spot sounded like music to their ears. Yay! Finally, we can rest. The students' tense bodies instantly relaxed. Ma Zihong, standing to the side, gave Cao Boyi a thumbs up. Buddy, you're really something. That's the flower of the art department. Look at how wrong she looks. Cao Boyi glanced over subconsciously and saw Zhou Zishuan's face flushed red, biting her lip, her body trembling slightly. Her eyes were filled with endless resentment. Cao Boyi ignored her and continued chatting with Ma Zihong. This guy was quite the talent. After all, the title of Master Lu wasn't something just anyone could earn. Ma Zihong could be considered one of the few friends Cao Boyi had been close to in his previous life. Both of them were the type of shut-ins who didn't like going out, preferring to stay in the dorm watching movies. The two of them had exchanged plenty of websites. After graduating from university, Master Lu joined a major internet company and worked in game development. It seemed he even created a fairly famous game called Genshin or something like that. Meanwhile, Zhou Zishuan was staring fixedly at Cao Boyi. Damned bastard. Actually making her lose face in front of her classmates again. If it were someone else, that would be one thing, but it just had to be this simp who had chased her for 3 years and fawned over her. That feeling of being humiliated and betrayed was something she couldn't tolerate. Then don't blame me for being heartless. A flash of ruthlessness crossed her eyes as a brilliant plan surfaced in her mind. This time, I will make you lose everything. Time flew by. The afternoon training program was relatively simple. Under instructor Li Yunlong's guidance, everyone learned a new set of military boxing moves. Cao Boyi had no interest in this, especially when some female students did it. It was no different from a criminal throwing a tantrum. In the evening, the military training ended. Zhou Zixuan returned to the dormitory, dejected, standing before the door for a long time, unwilling to enter. What happened today was truly too embarrassing, making her unable to hold her head up in front of her classmates. After hesitating for quite a while, she finally gathered the courage to push the door open and enter. Zixuan is back. Come, sit. Fu Shou'er pulled over a chair, putting on an expression of someone thirsty for gossip. She was also a local from Star City and had trained at the same institution as Zhou Zixuan before the art exam, having met once before. Now that they had been admitted to the same university, the two quickly became good friends. Fu Shou'er wasn't pretty. She was round, with a face full of fat. Zixuan, don't be sad. I think he's just trying to get your attention this way, so he can pursue you later. Of all the flaws in men, he specifically picks on girls to bully. Sisters, we should unite and go to the counselor to file a complaint against that instructor who protects men. The fat on Fu Shou'er's face twisted tightly, looking like she was championing justice and righting wrongs. She wasn't just an ordinary person. She was an emotional blogger with over 30,000 followers, specializing in teaching sisters how to love themselves. However, her other two roommates, Sun Iran and Wang Mengxue, had no interest in this. It was clearly Zhou Zixuan who had provoked him first, yet she wanted to bite back at him. Both of their faces showed a hint of imperceptible disgust. Fu Shou'er, I've always treated you as a good sister. You have to help me. That Cao Boyi is too hateful. He chased me like a pug in high school, but after graduation, he's like a different person. Zhou Zixuan looked pitifully at Fu Shou'er. As for the good sister in her mouth, it was just to use Fu Shou'er. All men are heartless scumbags. Girls help girls. Everything is on me. Fu Shou'er nodded vigorously, her double chin shaking along with her robust figure. When it came to punishing scumbags, she was a professional. Night fell, and the city lights came on. Cao Boyi lay alone on his sofa at home, checking today's results. Teletechnology hit the daily limit right at the opening, and there was hardly any trading volume all day. It seems this world hasn't changed much because of his rebirth. Ring. The sudden sound of a mobile phone ringtone interrupted his thoughts. Seeing that the caller ID was Chun Meijing, Cao Boyi decisively pressed the answer button. Hello, Annie Meijing. Little E, what are you doing? How is university life going? Are you adjusting well? Is the military training tiring? Chun Meijing's soft voice came from the other end of the line, and Cao Boyi felt his eyes moisten. No matter where she was, Annie Meijing was always thinking of him. Their relationship was not that of blood relatives, but it was even closer. I met many new classmates. The military training isn't very tiring, and the instructors are easy to talk to. That's good. Things are going quite smoothly on my end, and I expect to return early next week. The two chatted for a few more moments before hanging up. Cao Boyi remained where he was, Auntie Meijing's gentle and beautiful face appearing in his mind. Just as he was lost in thought, his phone rang again. Ding dong, it was a message from Lu Dian. Brother E, where are you? Come out and have a drink with me. Recalling his memories from his previous life, at this point in time, that kid Lu Dian was likely heartbroken. All right, send me your location. Cao Boyi agreed without hesitation. Lu Dian's situation was somewhat similar to his own. He also liked a female classmate. However, Lu Dian was shyer and had never dared to confess to her, only to find out she had found a boyfriend just 2 days after starting university. Lu Dian must have learned about this, which is why he called him out to drink away his sorrows. He took a taxi to the bar street on Jiefeng West Road. This was the most bustling area in all of Star City, with countless bars lined up neatly on both sides of the street. Pretty girls dressed in skimpy outfits walked in groups. Looking around, all one could see were fair exposed legs. Cao Boyi strode inside. The deafening DJ music instantly echoed in his ears, and the air was filled with a mixed scent of alcohol and perfume. Scanning the crowd, Cao Boyi immediately spotted Lu Dian drinking alone. "What's wrong? Dianzi, you look so unhappy." Cao Boyi sat opposite him and took out a cigarette to hand to him. Lu Jian took the cigarette, lit it, took a deep drag, and said somewhat embarrassedly, "Brother E, can I ask you something? Why are you being so polite with me? Just say it." Cao Boyi waved his hand, his tone relaxed. "Ever since you started university, you've been like a different person, becoming more confident and more mature. And a lot of girls are interested in you. Several girls asked me for your QQ number today. Is there a trick to this?" Lu Dian's voice grew quieter. He felt that his best friend had seemed like a completely different person lately. He used to be an introverted high school student, but overnight, he had transformed into a charming man. In contrast, he himself couldn't even bring himself to confess to the girl he liked. Cao Boyi didn't speak after hearing this, instead sizing up Lu Jian. At a full 1.8 meters tall, with a sturdy build, he gave off a very sunny and spirited vibe. His appearance wasn't ugly or handsome, but it was well above average, and he looked endearing when he smiled. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be difficult for a guy like this to find a partner. He could even pursue some high-quality women. Do you know why that is? Cao Boyi tapped his fingers lightly on the table, pondering for a moment before asking. Lu Dian's situation was exactly the same as his before his rebirth. Afraid to interact much with the opposite sex, stuttering when he spoke. Thinking that liking a girl meant giving her everything, only knowing how to offer empty concern and send gifts. However, it was only after he went to northern Myanmar and made a name for himself that he discovered that so-called goddesses were just, I don't know. Lu Jian stuttered, wanting to say more but hesitating. He couldn't describe the feeling either, but he would just get very nervous when face-to-face with a girl, his mind going blank. Your situation is that you put a filter on women, imagining them to be too perfect. No matter how beautiful a woman is, she's still human. One head, two legs, and they also have to shit and piss. Cao Boyi curled his lips, immediately thinking of a good idea. He leaned in, covered his mouth, and whispered, "Tomorrow, I'll take you to a good place." What good place?" Lu Jian wiped the corner of his mouth, looking confused. "A place where you can get an in-depth understanding of women." Cao Boyi smiled faintly, his face full of mystery. He would take this kid to a KTV tomorrow, then find a bathhouse to relax. Dr. Cao, specializing in treating the fear of talking to girls. "Let's go, let's get home early. We have to get up early for military training tomorrow." Seeing that there was no point in continuing to drink, Cao Boyi stood up to leave. Just then, a sound of arguing suddenly came from not far away. Cao Boyi looked in the direction of the sound and saw a mature young woman in a purple tight-fitting skirt being surrounded by 2 or 3 men. The bar was a mix of all kinds of people, so this kind of thing was perfectly normal. The woman was wearing a purple tight-fitting skirt. Her beautiful legs wrapped in black silk were crossed, and she was wearing red-bottomed high heels. Why does she look a bit familiar? Cao Boyi paused his steps and looked closely. Holy crap, Chiang Meyer? Cao Boyi nearly fell over. This woman had truly left quite a shadow on him. Of the 36 stratagems, fleeing is the best one. Cao Boyi greased his feet and prepared to slip away. However, Chiang Meyer had no intention of giving him that chance. He heard a sharp female voice pierce through the noisy music, clearly coming from behind him. Wait a moment, Cao Boyi, you stop right there. Refusing to help someone in danger. Are you even human? Cao Boyi Po said, refusing to help someone in danger? He felt a surge of secret joy. Retribution had come so quickly. This lawless woman must have run into big trouble. Seeing that Cao Boyi didn't react, Chiang Meyer took advantage of the men's distraction and rushed forward in one swift motion. She gripped Cao Boyi's arm tightly with both hands and said coquettishly in her charming voice, "Hubby, you're finally here. Hurry and take me away from here. Hey, do you know how long I've been waiting for you?" Hubby? Lu Jian, nearly petrified, Brother, it was truly awesome to be able to make this woman call him hubby. You have to know, this woman's looks could be described as devastatingly beautiful, leaving those so-called class beauties and school belles and school streets behind. Still trying to run? All of you stop right there. A ruffian-like young man, accompanied by a few burly men, surrounded Cao Boyi and the others. The young man sported a green afro and had dragons and tigers tattooed on his arms. He looked like someone not to be messed with. Damn it, you dare splash wine on me? Do you really think I, Lin Xiaodong, am someone to be trifled with? You damn bitch. What are you acting so high and mighty for? Dressing so slutty to come to a bar. Aren't you just here to sell yourself? You should have asked around to find out who I, Lin Xiaodong, am. If you don't serve me comfortably today, don't even think about taking a single step out of this bar. Lin Xiaodong crossed his arms over his chest, his gaze wandering over Qin Meyer's beautiful legs in black silk stockings. This woman was truly a top-tier beauty. Not only did she have a seductive, foxy face, but that pair of black silk stockings was simply lethal. If only I could hoist them onto my shoulders. A wicked smile appeared on Lin Xiaodong's face. Beauty, just give in to Brother Dong. Otherwise, don't blame us brothers for being impolite. That's right, you're already out of play. So what does it matter who you play with? If you serve Brother Dong well, there will be plenty of benefits for you. Several burly men grinned, their eyes full of desire. Lin Xiaodong was very generous. He would always toss the women he finished playing with to his subordinates to have a taste. Thinking about how they would soon be able to taste such a stunning beauty, they couldn't help but get excited. Get lost. All of you get lost. My boyfriend is here. If you dare to mess around, I'll call the police. Pulling on Cao Boyi's shoulder, Qin Meyer felt a bit more confident. She didn't believe the other party would dare do anything to her in front of so many people, especially with her boyfriend present. However, Lin Xiaodong and his group were not scared off by her. On the contrary, they became even more excited. He glanced at Cao Boyi, a flash of contempt crossing his eyes. Don't worry, when the time comes, I'll tie him up and let him watch the live show. If I'm in a good mood, I might even give him a chance to join in. Ha ha ha! Lin Xiaodong laughed unscrupulously. He was the son of Lin Changhai, the chairman of the Sihai group. How could he possibly be scared by the police? Lin Changhai had started out in the underworld years ago and was considered a big shot in Star City. Later, as his business grew larger, he gradually faded out of the underworld, and the black market industries under his control were mostly whitewashed. But in this city, who dared not give him some face? As Lin Changhai's youngest son, Lin Xiaodong was naturally used to being arrogant and domineering. Brother, Lu Jian gently poked Cao Boyi's back. He was already prepared for a fight. Since it was his good brother's woman, he wouldn't back down regardless of the other party's background. The only word that mattered was, fight. Cao Boyi gave him a look to calm down, then said indifferently to Lin Xiaodong, "This woman is not my girlfriend." What? Not his girlfriend? The onlookers around them cast strange glances. Could this kid be a coward? Seeing that the other side had more people, he immediately distanced himself from his own girlfriend. A husband and wife are like birds in the same forest. When disaster strikes, they each fly their own way. You. Qin Meyer's delicate body stiffened, and then she looked at Cao Boyi with an expression of disbelief. She never expected that this man would not only fail to help her, but would instead immediately distance himself from her. Coward! Qin Meyer cursed inwardly. Just a moment ago, during her argument with Lin Xiaodong, her phone had fallen to the ground and broken. At this moment, she could only pin all her hopes on Cao Boyi. Hubby! Qin Meyer suddenly stepped forward, wrapped her arms around Cao Boyi's neck, and pressed her knee between his legs. The next second, she kissed Cao Boyi on the lips. Hubby! Qin Meyer rubbed against Cao Boyi, her voice so sweet and coquettish it seemed like it could drip water. Seeing this scene, Lin Xiaodong was instantly furious. He pointed at the two of them and cursed. Damn it, you two are never going to stop, are you? I don't care what your relationship is. Just stay right there and don't you dare leave. Cao Boyi ignored the furious Lin Xiaodong and continued to kiss Meyer passionately. It would be a waste not to take advantage of something delivered right to his doorstep. This woman had fed him her foot last time, so he had to collect some interest this time no matter what. However, contrary to what he imagined, Meyer's kissing technique was very clumsy, and she bit his tongue several times. Lin Xiaodong could no longer watch. He waved at the people behind him. "Damn it, do it! Take this woman to my room." Twilight Bar was also an industry under the C-High Group. As the young master, Lin Xiaodong had an independent office here. It was called an office, but it was actually just a rather spacious room with a 6-foot bed inside. This was specifically for him to do his business. It would be more accurate to call a hookup room than an office. The 3 burly men didn't dare to touch Meyer, as she was a woman their boss hadn't enjoyed yet. "Damn, take this kid out." The 3 of them exchanged a smile and then lunged fiercely at Cao Boyi. Sensing danger, Cao Boyi quickly pulled away from Meyer and met one of them head-on. Lu Jian was not to be outdone and got into a scuffle with a burly man wearing a gold chain. The 5 of them instantly started brawling. Cao Boyi took on 2 at once and was not at a disadvantage at all. "Holy shit, this kid can fight." Lin Xiaodong looked stunned. He had assumed that Cao Boyi only dared to fight his subordinates because he was relying on the strong, big guy beside him. Who knew the guy's skills were actually so good? The 3 subordinates he brought were security guards at the bar, and their physical fitness was far superior to those street thugs. Manager Wang, hurry up and call for backup." Lin Xiaodong took out his walkie-talkie and shouted loudly. Not long after, a full 10 burly men rushed over and surrounded Cao Boyi. Cao Boyi quickly knocked down 2 people and immediately went to help Lu Jian deal with the man with the gold chain. Not bad, not bad. You can actually fight." Lin Xiaodong clapped his hands, his eyes full of mockery. "So what if you can fight? Can you really take on 10 people? Aren't you security guards for the bar? This guy has ulterior motives toward me, and you don't care. Instead, you're actually helping the villain. I'm going to call the police and send you all to jail." Meyer looked at the security guards in their uniform, unable to believe it. This was her first time in a place like a bar. Who would have thought she would encounter something like this on her first visit? Helping a villain? The lead manager Wang seemed to have heard a huge joke. "Young Master Lin is the young boss of our bar. If I don't help him, who would I help? Are you going to pay the brothers' salaries?" Hearing this, Meyer felt her heart sink. She feared she was doomed today. Whoa, I was wrong. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have been so willful." Heartbroken, Meyer plopped onto the floor and began to wail. Cao Boyi couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. What a crazy woman. She's in her 30s and acting like a child. "Take this woman and that brat to my office, and bring over the newly bought video equipment. I'm going to be a director today." Lin Xiaodong laughed arrogantly. So what if Cao Boyi could fight? Could he take on 10 people at once? Cao Boyi narrowed his eyes, his gaze scanning the crowd like a hawk. Facing 10 burly men, even with his formidable physical strength, he didn't dare to be overconfident at this moment. At Lin Xiaodong's command, the men immediately swarmed forward, rubbing their fists and wiping their palms, their eyes gleaming with malice. One of them, a tall and thin guy, swung a steel pipe at Cao Boyi's face. A fierce aura, inconsistent with his age, flashed across Cao Boyi's brows. He sidestepped, dodging the attack with an incredibly strange posture. Then he pushed off hard with his right leg and dashed toward Lin Xiaodong in the crowd. Screech. The soles of his shoes screeched against the floor. Cao Boyi's hand clamped onto Lin Xiaodong's throat like an iron pincer, lifting him up. "Don't move, or I'll kill him." Lin Xiaodong struggled in the air, kicking his legs wildly. His face turned beet red, and his eyes bulged as if they were about to pop out. "Quick, stop." Manager Wang hurriedly signaled his men to stop upon seeing this, then looked at Cao Boyi with a terrified expression. What are you doing? Let go of young Master Lin." I never look for trouble, but I'm certainly not afraid of it." A cold sneer curled the corner of Cao Boyi's mouth. In the next second, he tightened his grip without hesitation. MMPH. Lin Xiaodong's face turned the color of liver in an instant, as if he would suffocate to death the next second. Thump! Manager Wang's knees buckled, and he knelt on the ground, looking at Cao Boyi with pleading eyes. Big brother, you are a magnanimous person. We were in the wrong first in this matter, and we are willing to compensate for your losses. Cao Boyi hadn't expected such an unexpected surprise, so he immediately relaxed his right hand. Lin Xiaodong fell heavily to the ground with a thump, clutching his throat and gasping for air. The arrogance in his eyes was completely gone, replaced only by boundless fear. This guy had definitely killed someone. He had only seen that kind of ruthless temperament in a few of his father's underlings. Those people were all desperados with blood on their hands. Everyone present held their breath, as if a demon were standing before them. But there was one exception, Meyer. Her charming face was slightly flushed with drunkenness, and her fox-like eyes stared infatuatedly at Cao Boyi, filled with fanaticism. This man was so handsome, especially that temperament which was just like a villain in a movie. Instead of being afraid, Meyer was somewhat intoxicated by it. Manager Wang ordered his men to bring a handbag, then walked up unsteadily and handed it to Cao Boyi. Big brother, this is a small token of our sincerity. I hope you can be magnanimous and not hold this against us. Cao Boyi took the bag, unzipped it, and took a look. It was full of bright red banknotes. He estimated there must be several 100,000. What kind of background did this little green-haired guy have to have such a large sum of money? Cao Boyi didn't stand on ceremony and accepted the handbag. Free money is free money. Just consider it his appearance fee for the night. Remember, don't try to take revenge on me, or the consequences will be very tragic. Cao Boyi dropped a warning and then left the bar with Meyer and Lu Dian. As for Lin Xiaodong, even if he had 10,000 guts, he wouldn't dare to follow and continue looking for trouble. Of course, this didn't mean he would just swallow this loss. Rather, he planned to take revenge after making full preparations. Cao Boyi stood at the entrance hailing a taxi. Seeing that Meyer had no intention of leaving, he asked coldly, "What? Planning to follow me around like this?" Cao Boyi didn't have a good expression for this woman. This matter had nothing to do with him in the first place, and he had no interest in playing the hero saving the damsel. If it weren't for his quick thinking, coming up with the strategy of capturing the leader to subdue the rest, he would have shocked everyone. I'm afraid it wouldn't have been so easy to walk out of this bar tonight. Meyer didn't speak, just blinked and looked at Cao Boyi pitifully, seemingly tacitly agreeing with his words. Crazy woman. Cao Boyi suddenly raised his hand and slapped a crisp blow across Meyer's fair cheek. Slap. Meyer's body stiffened slightly at first, and a look of astonishment appeared on her face. However, after that brief pain pricked her nerves, her whole person seemed to have a switch flipped. Her eyes seemed to be shrouded in a thin mist, gradually becoming unfocused, and she actually revealed an appearance of intoxication and enjoyment. Cao Boyi was shocked. A normal person, caught off guard and slapped, would instinctively react with anger. This woman was actually enjoying it? Could it be? Cao Boyi hurriedly opened the system. Name, Meyer Affinity. 58 holy crap. It went up so fast. Cao Boyi shrugged, completely losing his temper. This woman could be said to be the biggest trouble he had encountered since his rebirth. Whether he hit or scolded her, it was useless. It even seemed to play right into her hands. Brother look. Lu Jian was suddenly a loss. His good brother was truly awesome. He slapped such a beautiful woman without hesitation, and she didn't get angry at all, but instead looked like she was enjoying it. He decided that from now on, he would be Brother Yi's underling, and he had to learn this skill no matter what. Cao Boyi pulled a stack of cash from the handbag, shoved it into Lu Dian's arms, and patted him on the shoulder. Take this to spend for now. You contributed quite a bit to tonight's events. Let's split this money 50/50ths. I'll transfer the rest to you later. Cao Boyi was never stingy with his good brothers. Besides, this was his due reward. He hadn't spared any effort tonight either. No, I can't take this much money. Lu Jian refused repeatedly. They were brothers who had grown up wearing the same pair of pants. He didn't help Cao Boyi to get benefits. If I tell you to take it, take it. Put it away quickly and be safe. Under Cao Boyi's insistence, Lu Jian had to stuff the money into his crossbody bag. Then I'll head back first. Take it easy tonight. We have to get up early for military training tomorrow. Lu Jian gave Cao Boyi a mischievous look, then got into a taxi, sending off his best friend. Cao Boyi looked at Meyer beside him and said helplessly, "Where's your home? I'll take you back." "No, I don't want to go home." Meyer shook her head, her eyes filled with a bit of drunkenness. She had a big fight with her parents in the evening, so she ran away from home and came to the bar alone to drown her sorrows, and then ran into this mess. If she went back now, wouldn't that be too embarrassing? Meyer smoothed the hair on her forehead and said charmingly, Will you take me home?" Cao Boyi thought for a moment and decided to take Meyer home. Annie John's favorability was about to break 60, so he needed to quickly find the next target. This woman happened to meet the system's criteria, and with such high favorability, she was perfect for farming rewards. Go to Jingxiu Jiangshan Residential Complex. Cao Boyi helped Meyer into the back seat of the taxi. The driver subconsciously glanced back and immediately looked envious. He often picked up passengers near bars and had seen plenty of people being picked up while drunk, but this was the first time he had seen such a beautiful woman being picked up. This young man was truly lucky. Meyer kicked off her high heels haphazardly and walked into the living room with her feet wrapped in black silk stockings, stepping on the floor. "Bullying me. You are all bullying me." Meyer swayed and collapsed onto the sofa, tears shimmering in her eyes. Cao Boyi saw that the woman was in low spirits, so he quickly poured a glass of hot water and sat beside her. "You were fine when I saw you yesterday. What happened?" Cao Boyi asked, puzzled. Meyer picked up the glass, took a small sip, and began to pour out her experiences. She had previously studied for her master's degree abroad and, after graduating, successfully landed a job at a large investment bank. However, she had always had a heart that hated evil and yearned for justice and fairness since she was a child. Last year, while participating in an IPO project for a tech company, she discovered that the company was at risk of inflating revenue and falsifying financial reports. Meyer did not choose to be complicit. Instead, she provided a detailed report to the regulatory authorities. Afterward, she was fired by the company on the grounds of violating a confidentiality agreement. Cao Boyi was surprised. This crazy woman was actually a high-achieving student full of a sense of justice. He pulled out a cigarette, lit it, handed one to Meyer, and asked with a smile, and then, "Isn't working as an analyst at a brokerage firm pretty good too?" I resigned this morning. I'm a vagrant now." Meyer slowly exhaled a smoke ring. Ever since she returned to the country, she had become increasingly decadent, and her father had forcibly arranged a job for her. The title was high, but she didn't actually do any real work, and every day she was gossiped about by colleagues who said she was a useless vase. "Then have you ever thought about starting your own business?" Cao Boyi asked tentatively. Having lived a second life, he knew of many business opportunities ahead of the times, each one capable of overturning tradition. Current golden stocks were merely a transition. To stand at the very top of society and not be constrained by rules, one needed enough money, or even power. Meyer was not the type of woman who was brainless. On the contrary, she was somewhat fierce and ruthless, and might be useful in the future. Start a business? Open a company? Meyer rolled her eyes charmingly. "Kid, do you think it's that easy to run a company? Not to mention whether there is startup capital, at the very least, you need a presentable product and solid technology." This kid was still too young and hadn't been beaten down by society. He thought just anyone could start a business. After all, every industry was saturated now, unlike 10 years ago when gold was everywhere. Cao Boyi didn't rush to refute her. After pondering for a moment, he said, "What if I have everything you mentioned?" "You have it all? Then I'll come work for you and cling to your thighs." Meyer grinned, revealing 2 small fangs, treating it all as a joke. It was true that the other party had money, Someone who could take out $4 million to trade stocks certainly wouldn't lack money. But starting a business couldn't be solved by money alone. It also required good ideas and excellent talent, which couldn't be bought with money. Without these two things, no matter how much money was invested, it would all be lost. Oh, which thigh are you going to cling to? Cao Boyi curled his lips, looking at her with a half-smile. The woman was stunned for a moment, and then a faint blush appeared on her face. You dirty pervert. Meyer gritted her teeth and subconsciously raised her leg to kick Cao Boyi lightly. Yo, you want to try the same trick again? Cao Boyi had been prepared. He grabbed her slender leg and pulled firmly. Meyer's body suddenly lost its balance, and she fell backward uncontrollably. With a dull thud, her head hit the hard edge of the sofa heavily. Ooh, it hurts so much. Meyer covered her forehead, letting out a painful moan. Cao Boyi quickly uncrossed his legs and leaned forward to hold Meyer's small hand, wanting to check her injury. Just as he stretched his neck over, an accident happened. Meyer sprang up from the sofa like a shot, wrapping her arms tightly around Cao Boyi like an octopus. Immediately afterward, she tilted her head and bit down hard on Cao Boyi's shoulder. Then she raised her head and blinked, looking like a scheme had succeeded. Ha ha, if I don't give you a taste of your own medicine, you'll really think I'm easy to bully. Feeling the pain in his arm and the warmth in his arms, Cao Boyi couldn't help but gasp. Immediately after, he raised his arm high and slapped Meyer's back hard. Slap! Feeling the pain, Meyer couldn't help but scream, Ah, you little beast, what are you doing? Disciplining you. If you do something wrong, you must be punished, otherwise you won't learn your lesson. Cao Boyi said with a grin and delivered another slap. In the quiet living room in the middle of the night, the sharp sound of slaps echoed endlessly. Let me go. Quickly, let me go. Bastard. Indecent assault. Indecent assault. Meyer's originally aggressive cursing gradually quieted down, eventually turning into begging with a crying tone. Cao Boyi was very satisfied. He had just used quite a bit of force, just to teach Meyer a lesson. If he let her continue to be willful, there was no telling what kind of huge trouble she might cause in the future. Seeing that Meyer had completely stopped moving, Cao Boyi also stopped his movements and asked sternly, Do you know you were wrong? Meyer was limp in Cao Boyi's arms, seemingly without the strength to even speak. What's going on? It shouldn't hurt that much, right? Cao Boyi hurriedly placed Meyer's soft, boneless body gently on the sofa and observed her with puzzlement. Her hair was scattered wildly. Her exquisite professional attire outlined her graceful figure, and half of her calves, wrapped in black silk, were exposed. It had to be said, aside from being somewhat flat-chested, this woman could be called perfect in every other aspect. Cao Boyi resisted the urge to invest hundreds of millions and opened a system to check her favorability. Name: Meyer favorability. 69. Cao Boyi was shocked. His previous thoughts seemed to have been verified at this moment. Pervert. Cao Boyi spat softly and turned to walk into the guest room. He took a thin quilt out of the closet and threw it onto the bed, then found the air conditioner remote that hadn't been used for a long time. After finishing everything, he returned to the living room, where Meyer was still lying on the sofa, playing dead. Cao Boyi instructed her helplessly, You'll sleep in the guest room tonight. The remote is on the table. Turn on the air conditioner yourself if it gets hot. Having said that, he went back to his own bedroom to rest. After a long while, discovering there was no movement, Meyer finally climbed off the sofa. Her little heart was pounding incessantly, and she looked around with a guilty conscience. After confirming that Cao Boyi had gone to sleep, she let out a heavy sigh of relief and completely relaxed. Countless complex emotions intertwined, tightly enveloping her. Growing up, no matter what mistakes she committed, her father had never truly physically struck her. As for other men, they all pursued and fawned over her as if she were the moon surrounded by stars. Only this Cao Boyi. The moonlight from outside the window shone through the glass onto her rosy face, outlining her delicate features. She pressed her red lips tightly together. After a long time, she squeezed a few words through the gaps in her lips. Damn it. You lewd, shameless animal. Cao Boyi's actions from just a moment ago flashed through her mind like a movie. Soon, Cheen Meyer discovered something wrong. Although she was cursing him as lewd and shameless, she wasn't actually that angry. Instead, there was a strange feeling just like when she had just received a newly bought toy as a child. While Cao Boyi and Cheen Meyer were playing house, Zhou Zixuan was currently sitting in a lounge bar. Sitting beside her was her good bestie, Fu Shou'er, and sitting opposite them were the gloomy-faced Su Shiji and the black-rimmed glasses-wearing Student Union President Yin Jingduan. Fuck, that bastard has really gone too far. Su Shiji slammed the glass in his hand, his eyes flashing with cold glints. The video of the military training was uploaded online, and my mom happened to see it. She even got into a car accident and ended up in the hospital because of it. As the director of the Student Affairs Office, Director Cheen Wenmin would occasionally check the forums to stay updated on the students' activities in order to better carry out her work. Returning home from work the day before yesterday, Director Cheen, who had just been infuriated by Cao Boyi's stock market crash theory, happened to see a post with 99+ comments. Rich kid acknowledges a father in public? The highly contrasting title instantly caught her attention. With her strong class consciousness, she was already sensitive to terms like rich second generation and official second generation, so she clicked on it without a second thought. However, the scene that appeared on the phone screen almost made her die of anger on the spot. Her son was actually calling someone else dad in public. What was even more infuriating was that her son's dad turned out to be the very man who had just stepped out of her car. She had met him a few times and judged from his attire and the phone he used that Cao Boyi was a person from the bottom of society. Now that her son was calling bottom-feeding trash dad, didn't that mean he had found a wild husband for her, Director Cheen Wenmin? And it was the bottom-feeding trash she looked down upon the most. The feeling of being defiled instantly made her feel filled with shame and anger. Her vision went black, and she couldn't even hold the steering wheel steady. The next second, the sports car, like a wild horse breaking free from its reins, crashed straight into the roadside greenbelt. What? Director Cheen got into a car accident and is in the hospital. Student Union President Yin Jingduan looked at Su Shiji with a stunned expression. As the vice chairman of the school's student union, he had finally managed to connect with Director Cheen, hoping that next year he could advance further and drop the vice from his title. Who would have known that just a few days later, she would get into a car accident? Yeah, Su Shiji nodded and said softly, she's fine. She can be discharged after resting for a while. Hearing this, Student Union President Yin Jingduan breathed a sigh of relief and immediately said fawningly, Director Cheen is a lucky person. I knew she'd be fine. Su Shiji, which hospital is your mother in? I'll go visit her tomorrow. No need. The doctor said it's a concussion and she needs plenty of rest. Su Shiji shook his head in refusal. Thinking of his mother's pitiful state, he gripped the wine glass in his hand even tighter. That was his most beloved mother. Yet she was in the hospital because of that animal, Cao Boyi. Every time he thought of Director Cheen Wenmin's pale face, Su Shiji felt a dull ache in his heart. His mother was his reverse scale. This time, he was truly enraged. Su Shiji, what are you talking about? Auntie is in the hospital. And who is Director Cheen? Director Cheen Wenmin from the Student Affairs Office. Zhou Zixuan looked bewildered, not knowing what Su Shiji and the man beside him were talking about. Fu Shou'er was even more so. Zhou Zixuan had said that a very awesome suitor was taking her out tonight, and then she had just brought her along. Su Shiji picked up a bottle of beer, poured a glass for everyone, and continued, Director Cheen Wenmin from the Student Affairs Office is my mom. She was hospitalized because Cao Boyi infuriated her. Then he pointed to Student Union President Yin Jingduan beside him. This is the vice chairman of our school's student union, Student Union President Yin Jingduan, Senior Yin. Director Cheen, Student Union President Yin Jingduan. Zhou Zixuan and Fu Shou'er were both startled and hurriedly picked up their glasses to make a toast. They hadn't expected Su Shiji's background to be so solid. Director Qin was his mom, and even the student union vice chairman was being so polite. Young Master Su. President Ian, hello. Fu Shower respectfully raised her glass, fawning over the two of them as she toasted. She scolded men for being worthless online every day, but that was online. In reality, how could she dare to act out in front of these powerful and influential rich kids? A trace of imperceptible disgust flashed in Su Shiji's eyes, but then he smiled and said, "No need to be polite. Since you're Zhou Zixuan's bestie, you're also a friend of mine, Su Shiji." Not only was this woman ugly, but she was also covered in fat, and her fawning smile was disgusting. However, since she was someone Zhou Zixuan brought, he couldn't deny her face. "Su Shiji, you didn't come to military training today. You don't know how arrogant that bastard really is." Zhou Zixuan pouted and exaggeratedly recounted what happened this afternoon. Fu Shower also chimed in, "Yeah, that guy doesn't know how to cherish women at all." After listening, Su Shiji's brows instantly knitted into a frown, and his fingers tapped rhythmically on the table. This Cao Boyi seemed to be intentionally going against him. Since the start of school, he hadn't had a single peaceful day. First, there was the humiliation at the opening ceremony and military training, and then his mother was injured and hospitalized because of him. And now, he wouldn't even let go of the woman he liked. Seeing Su Shiji's gloomy face, Zhou Zixuan felt quite pleased. This fool was really easy to manipulate. Just a few words of provocation, and he was this angry. Who cares if you're a rich kid? Men are just her playthings. Everyone, I have a good idea that can make this guy completely lose his reputation. Why don't you listen to me? The fat on Fu Shower's face bunched up, revealing an intriguing smile. Warm yellow light poured down, and jazz music lingered in the air. Ha, what a brilliant plan. Su Shiji slapped his thigh hard, laughing wantonly, the gloom on his face vanishing instantly. Fu Shower's method was actually quite simple. Zhou Zixuan's phone contained many chat logs of Cao Boyi pursuing her. It only required cutting off the beginning and end of the chat logs and posting them online along with a video of Cao Boyi punishing Zhou Zixuan today. With a carefully crafted caption, they could frame Cao Boyi as someone who offends women and starts off enthusiastic but ends up cold. Students who didn't know the truth would surely think Cao Boyi was rejected in his courtship and, out of frustration, deliberately made things difficult for Zhou Zixuan to vent his anger. During this, Student Union President Yin Jingduan would step in to gather internet trolls to stir up trouble and control the narrative. Finally, it would be Su Shiji's turn to persuade his mother, Director Qin Wenmin, to give the morally corrupt Cao Boyi a disciplinary action. With this combination of moves and official confirmation, Cao Boyi would become a rat crossing the street that everyone wanted to beat. Zhou Zixuan felt excited thinking about it, but she frowned, putting on an embarrassed expression. Is this okay? We are all classmates. There's no need to make things so ugly. Zixuan, Su Shiji stared straight at Zhou Zixuan, saying with heartbreaking sincerity, "You are still too kind. You must not show mercy to someone like this." While feeling that she was too soft-hearted, Su Shiji also felt a sense of relief. His judgment was indeed sharp. Zhou Zixuan was a kind-hearted girl. "Do you two have any problems?" Su Shiji looked at Student Union President Yin Jingduan and Fu Shower. "No problem," the two said in unison. Student Union President Yin Jingduan was doing this to curry favor with Director Qin through Su Shiji and advance his own position. Fu Shower was doing this to get close to Su Shiji, attempting to enter the circle of the rich second generation and meet more high-quality men. The two of them could be said to have their own ulterior motives, so naturally, they obeyed Su Shiji. "Come, cheers." The four looked at each other and smiled, clinking their glasses together, then drank it all in one gulp. Meanwhile, Su Shiji's aunt, Qin Meyer, was tossing and turning in the bedroom at Cao Boyi's house. Perhaps because she wasn't used to the bed, she had been lying there for a long time and couldn't fall asleep. "Little beast, little beast, little beast." Qin Meyer muttered to herself, repeatedly cursing Cao Boyi. but her mind couldn't help but replay the scene that had just happened. That crisp, melodious slap-slap sound made her feel incredibly ashamed while simultaneously feeling a hint of pleasure. "It's so uncomfortable, sticky, and messy. I want to take a shower." Cheenmeyer put her hands in her hair and scratched hard, trying to drive that strange feeling out of her mind. She got up from the bed and walked to Cao Boyi's bedroom door with her snow-white, slender legs. Open the door, open the door. I want to take a shower. I want to take a shower." Cheenmeyer waved her small fists and pounded heavily on the wooden door, making a thump, thump, thump sound. At this moment, Cao Boyi was lying on the bed chatting with Jiang Wanting, and he was startled. "Damn it, what is this woman going crazy about again?" Cao Boyi jumped up subconsciously, pulled the door open, and shouted sternly at Cheenmeyer outside. "It's late at night. Don't you sleep? What are you knocking for?" You. Cheenmeyer froze in place, blushing and stammering, unable to speak for a long time. "You what you?" Cao Boyi looked down subconsciously, only to realize he was completely naked, wearing only a pair of boxers. He always had the habit of sleeping naked. It was said to be good for the body, and tight pants would affect physical development. "You are a pervert." Cheenmeyer covered her face and turned her head away. She didn't expect Cao Boyi's figure to be so good. His muscle lines were smooth and powerful, and his 8-pack abs were clearly visible. This natural masculinity was something those gym fanatics who used injections and drugs couldn't compare to. Although Cheenmeyer had never been in a relationship, she had seen many romance movies. She knew roughly what a man's body looked like. But this talent was simply too terrifying. Cao Boyi naturally didn't know what she was thinking and said righteously, "Big sister, this is my house. You came to knock on the door in the middle of the night. I suspect you have some ulterior motives. There are still some fruits in the refrigerator. Take them yourself if you need them." Cao Boyi curled his lips, his attitude cavalier. This woman was indeed very beautiful, mature and charming, yet revealing a bit of girlhood, giving people a feeling of being both pure and seductive. But the other party was Su Shiji's aunt. Once he became Su Shiji's uncle-in-law, he wouldn't have the face to discipline him. Cao Boyi was a person with a bottom line and never bullied the weak. Of course, women were the exception. Cao Boyi couldn't be bothered to tangle with her, took a t-shirt and beach shorts from the closet and threw them over. "Make do with these. That's all I have." "Hand it over." Cheenmeyer snorted coldly and quickly stuffed the clothes into her arms. Not finding slippers, Cheenmeyer could only walk into the bathroom with her bare feet. Anyway, the weather wasn't cold. La la la. She seemed to be in a good mood, humming a little tune while applying shower gel. Dense foam meandered and flowed on her smooth jade back, and water droplets slid slowly along her skin that was like congealed fat. Cheenmeyer stood on tiptoe and reached out to take the shampoo from the shelf. Just as her fingertips touched the cold bottle, her feet suddenly slipped, and she heard a muffled thump. "Ugh, it hurts." Cheenmeyer fell hard to the ground, a sharp pain coming from her buttocks. "Help, help! Is anyone there? Come and save me." Cheenmeyer found that she couldn't stand up at all from the pain, so she could only scream for help at the top of her lungs. In the living room outside the bathroom, Cao Boyi was sitting on the sofa smoking, using his phone to browse the internet to understand the development of this era. "Help!" The sudden cry for help interrupted his thoughts. Cao Boyi stood up, walked quickly to the bathroom door, and knocked. "Cheenmeyer, what's wrong with you? Speak." "I fell." A weak voice came from inside, carrying undeniable pain and a hint of embarrassed trembling. "I can't move. My butt hurts so much." Cao Boyi couldn't care about anything else and immediately twisted the doorknob. Clang, clang, clang. He tried a few times, but found the door was locked from the inside. "Hey, open the door." Cao Boyi raised his eyebrows, his tone carrying a bit of provocation. Thinking of this crazy woman being thwarted gave him a sense of revenge. I can't move. You think of a way." There was no other way, so Cao Boyi had to go to the living room and find a piece of wire from the toolbox under the coffee table. He had learned many skills in northern Myanmar in his previous life, and lockpicking was one of them. He couldn't handle complex anti-theft locks, but a simple lock like a bathroom door was not a big problem for him. Cao Boyi twisted the wire into an arc, gently inserted it into the keyhole, and then twisted it left and right. Click! Cao Boyi pushed the door open and walked in. He saw Cheen Meyer lying on the wet and slippery floor amidst the mist. The shower was still on, and fine water flowed on her body, winding down along her skin. Close your eyes. You're not allowed to look. Her voice carried a crying tone, and she wrapped her arms around her chest, the water flowing down her arms and across her slender waist. Her tender white skin reflected a faint luster under the light and steam. Don't worry, I am a gentleman. Cao Boyi stepped forward to turn off the faucet, picked up the bath towel hanging on the wall, and covered Cheen Meyer with it. Cheen Meyer shuddered violently, as if hit by a subtle electric current, and her face turned red uncontrollably. Cao Boyi ignored her, picked her up, walked out of the bathroom, and laid her on the bed. Cheen Meyer pulled the air-conditioning blanket from his side, wrapping herself tightly, full of vigilance. You can go out now. Being alone in the same room with a man, she was very afraid that Cao Boyi would do bad things, especially with his extraordinary talent. Terrifying, it could only be described as terrifying. Heartless woman, kicking me out after using me. Cao Boyi shook his head, pretending to be sad. Then he changed the subject and said seriously, You should see a doctor for this situation. A while ago, a neighbor upstairs from me fell in the bathroom, just like you. Guess what? She hurt her lumbar spine and was paralyzed from the waist down, unable to stand up for the rest of her life. Cao Boyi looked very serious. What? Paralyzed? Thinking about spending the rest of her life in a wheelchair. Cheen Meyer's small face turned pale instantly, and little pearls of tears flowed uncontrollably. Well, how could it be like this? I don't want to be paralyzed. There are still so many things I haven't done, so many delicacies I haven't tasted, and I haven't found a boyfriend yet. Seeing Cheen Meyer in such a miserable state, Cao Boyi couldn't hold it anymore. Haha, just kidding. Go to the pharmacy tomorrow, buy 2 plasters, stick them on, and rest for a few days, and you'll be fine. The intermediate military skills given by the system included some first aid knowledge, and he could roughly judge that Cheen Meyer had just fallen and was a little frightened. The reason he said it so seriously was just to scare this crazy woman, who knew the effect would be better than expected. She was scared to tears. You jerk! Cheen Meyer realized she had been played, pouted, and glared at Cao Boyi angrily. She wanted to pounce on him and bite this cheap man to death. Not only did he take advantage of her, but he also teased her like this. Cao Boyi knew he was in the wrong, greased his feet, and slipped out of the room. Cheen Meyer lay on the bed, getting angrier the more she thought about it, and her eyes inadvertently swept to the teddy bear doll on the bedside table. It's you. Cheen Meyer clutched her aching buttocks, stood up with difficulty, and threw the teddy bear doll onto the bed. Immediately after, she lifted her right foot and stepped mercilessly on the teddy bear's cute, round face. Her toes kept twisting and grinding hard, as if to vent all the grievances in her heart. Cao Boyi, Dam Cao Boyi. The next morning, at dawn, Cao Boyi was awakened by a clattering sound. He opened his eyes groggily and checked his phone. It was only 6 o'clock, an hour before his alarm. Did a thief break into the house? Cao Boyi jumped up with a start and walked cautiously towards the door. There was nothing unusual in the living room. The noise seemed to be coming from the kitchen. Cao Boyi walked over and saw Cheen Meyer holding a spatula, busy in front of the stove. What are you doing? I'm a little hungry, making something to eat. Cheen Meyer was a little embarrassed. After tossing and turning all night, she had consumed a lot of energy. Her stomach had been growling all night, and she was woken up by hunger early in the morning. Cao Boyi looked at the noodles churning in the pot and couldn't help but say, You really don't treat yourself as an outsider. Make me a bowl while you're at it. Okay. Cheen Meyer changed her usual state and agreed softly. Before long, 2 steaming bowls of noodles were placed on the dining table, sprinkled with green onions, looking quite delicious. Cao Boyi didn't stand on ceremony, picked up his chopsticks, and took a bite. Unexpectedly, it tasted surprisingly good. It seems this crazy woman is quite decent when she's not drinking. Her noodles are actually this good. I couldn't tell. Your cooking is good. "Hmm. I often cooked for myself when I was studying abroad, and then I practiced it." Cheen Meyer's voice was as soft as a mosquito, and her tone carried a bit of joy and shyness. "Something is wrong." Cao Boyi frowned, and his doubts deepened. Could this woman have multiple personalities? How is she like a different person? Could it be because she's sobered up? Cao Boyi asked tentatively. "You lost your job now. What are your plans for the future?" "Plans?" Cheen Meyer put down her chopsticks and thought for a long time before saying, "Rest for a while, and then take it one step at a time." To be honest, she also wanted to work hard and prove to her family that she was not a useless waste. But for some reason, at over 30, after experiencing that blow, she completely lost that drive. Except for drinking, she couldn't get interested in anything. "Anyway, you have nothing to do now. Why not consider working with me? How about it?" Cao Boyi said with a smile. After a whole night of careful consideration, he planned to set up a game company and officially enter the gaming industry. Mobile games were still in the development stage, and the game, Honor of Kings, would also be officially launched at the end of this year. With the breakthrough of mobile phone technology, the domestic mobile game industry would also usher in rapid development. He could take advantage of the early layout of this industry, which was known as a cash cow, with no inventory and full cash flow. What do you want to do?" Cheen Meyer was surprised, hurriedly crossed her hands over her chest, and looked at Cao Boyi with vigilance. "What are you thinking?" Cao Boyi almost spat out his noodles. "I'm talking about working together to achieve a career." Cao Boyi gave her a flick on the forehead. "How about this? First, help me register an internet company." After speaking, Cao Boyi quickly finished the noodles in the bowl, then found the tote bag given by Lin Xiaodong. He opened it and looked. After deducting the 10,000 yuan given to Lu Jian last night, there was still a full 240,000 yuan in cash inside. Without the slightest hesitation, Cao Boyi handed it directly to Cheen Meyer. "This is the startup capital for the early stage. First register the company, and then rent an office building as an office." "Are you sure you aren't joking with me?" Cheen Meyer looked suspicious. She didn't believe for a second that Cao Boyi could develop any fun game. Those game development teams usually consist of dozens or hundreds of people, and the investment required is at least in the tens of millions. But Cao Boyi's serious expression didn't look like he was joking. "Just go if I tell you to. When the time comes, the position of general manager will be yours," Cao Boyi said with a wave of his hand and a smile. People in this era were still a bit behind the times, instinctively thinking that a game was just a game meant purely for entertainment. In reality, games in the future were no longer limited to a single entertainment function. They possessed social attributes to a much greater extent. While being mentally addictive, they integrated into people's lives in every aspect. He currently had no capital, let alone technology, so naturally, he couldn't compete with those large game manufacturers. But there was a shortcut, fully utilizing the yet-to-be-discovered social attributes, combined with advanced marketing tactics. The once wildly popular Sheep is Sheep was exactly like that. The development team consisted of only 3 people, and it was a simple match-3 game. Yet, relying on unique marketing tactics, it became a massive hit, flooding WeChat moments and Weibo. One generation plants the trees, and the next enjoys the shade. Cao Boyi intended to copy this model, make a quick fortune, and, incidentally, boost the company's reputation. "Boss, have you thought of a name for the company? And what about my salary and benefits? If I follow you, I won't end up unable to afford a meal, right?" Cheen Meyer teased with a smile. She didn't have many friends in the country, and, after running away from home, she had nowhere to go, so she could just take this opportunity to stay at Cao Boyi's place. As for the salary, she didn't care. It was an empty shell of a company. How much could it possibly pay? As long as it covers room and board, that's fine. Let's call the company Tianyin Technology. We can discuss the salary and such when I get back. Rest assured, you're the candidate for a future executive position in the company, so work hard." Cao Boyi painted a grand picture for her, then stood up and patted Cheen Meyer on the shoulder. "Stay home and behave yourself, and don't touch anything." After saying that, he put on his camouflage uniform and left. washing dishes and wiping tables. Cheen Meyer was like a housewife, cleaning the place until it was spotless. After finishing everything, she felt bored and lay on the sofa to watch TV. Suddenly, she remembered Cao Boyi's instructions before he left. Stay at home, don't touch anything. Could he be hiding some little secret? Cheen Meyer revealed a sly smile. That was just her personality. The more she was told not to do something, the more she wanted to do it. No, I have to go take a look. Cheen Meyer tiptoed over, pushed open the door, and walked into Cao Boyi's bedroom. The room was very tidy, with a light gray quilt spread on the bed, folded neatly. Against the wall was a white desk, which was clean and tidy, without piles of books or clutter. This guy's actually quite disciplined. Cheen Meyer couldn't help but exclaim. It was rare to see a boy who could keep his bedroom so tidy, and she couldn't help but feel a bit more favorably toward Cao Boyi. There's nothing here at all. Cheen Meyer huffed, having looked for a long time without finding anything unusual. There wasn't even a single tissue on the floor. She had thought she could catch Cao Boyi in the act and make him obedient. Gaining nothing, Cheen Meyer set her sights on the wardrobe. Could there be something hidden inside? Cheen Meyer pulled open the wardrobe door and carefully rummaged through it, tried her best not to leave any traces. However, the result disappointed her once again. Inside, there was nothing but some clothes and pants. But those extra-large size underwear made her involuntarily think of Cao Boyi's impressive natural endowment. It seems I can't call you a little beast anymore. I have to call you a big beast. No, I must find evidence today. Cheen Meyer closed the wardrobe door, still unwilling to give up, and decided to check if anything was hidden in the desk drawers. Clatter! The drawer was opened, revealing some miscellaneous daily necessities, data cables, a shaver. It didn't look like there was anything special. Why is there a book here? How the steel was tempered. Cheen Meyer pulled out the book, and when she saw what was pressed underneath, her face instantly flushed red. Soft black fabric, emitting a faint fragrance. Ah, little big pervert. Heaven rewards the diligent. I finally found it. Cheen Meyer looked triumphant, quickly grabbed her phone, and snapped away. Cao Boyi was done for. She had him completely under her thumb. Oblivious to this, Cao Boyi was currently standing in a military posture on the playground. Because of the light rain last night, the weather today wasn't very hot and was quite comfortable. Rest in place for 10 minutes. I'm going to go get something. Instructor Li Yunlong gave the order and then trotted away quickly. Cao Boyi went over to the physical education department's formation and greeted Lu Jian. At this moment, Lu Jian was gesticulating excitedly, talking about something with a group of classmates surrounding him, listening with great interest. You guys don't know how thrilling it was last night. That group of people looked like professional thugs, far beyond what ordinary hoodlums could compare to. My brother, he took down several of them all by himself, and even captured their boss. All right, the more you say, the more exaggerated it gets. Cao Boyi hurriedly stepped forward to interrupt. This kid had no filter and didn't know how to keep a low profile. Sure enough, after Cao Boyi came over, the expressions of the male students watching instantly became awkward. Brother. Several of them greeted Cao Boyi in unison, their eyes full of fear. Cao Boyi waved his hand, without any airs. All right, don't listen to his nonsense. Then he called Lu Jian over and asked for his bank account number. There was a total of 250,000 in the bag last night. I transferred 120,000 to you. You're paying for tonight with the extra. TW, 120,000. Lu Jian was completely unsettled, his mouth wide open, his chin trembling uncontrollably. His monthly living expenses were only 2,000 yuan, which was already quite high for a university student in 2015. 120,000 was enough to buy a decent family car. Someone saw this scene, and it instantly spread among the students. Cao Boyi gave Lu Jian 120,000 in cash. Cao Boyi is a top-tier rich second generation. The rumors became more and more exaggerated, and they also reached Zhou Zixuan's ears. Zhou Zixuan gritted her teeth, feeling indignant in her heart. He just lends out 120,000 just like that. I was too merciful to you back then. I should have asked for an Hermes bag. What kind of bullshit rich second generation? Let you be arrogant for a few more days, and then I'll beat you back to your original form. The more Zhou Zishuan thought about it, the angrier she got. She had completely sentenced Cao Boyi to death in her heart, and he could never count on her forgiveness in this lifetime. Just at this moment, Instructor Li Yunlong and Instructor Zhang came over, carrying an iron box, panting. Everyone's attention was instantly drawn to the instructor. With a dull thud, a pitch-black iron box was placed on the ground. Instructor Li Yunlong rested his right foot on the box and asked with a smile, "Do any of you students know what this is?" "We don't know." The students all looked blank, having no idea what Instructor Li Yunlong was up to. "I'm afraid there might be guns inside." "Holy crap, guns?" Someone said that, and the scene instantly exploded into chaos. When military training started, they had heard there would be a live-fire training segment, but they hadn't expected it to come so soon. They could touch a gun on the third day of military training. Instructor Li Yunlong nudda. That's right, these are all guns, and they're the tools we will be using for our upcoming training. Hearing this, the students were instantly no longer tired. They were all rubbing their palms and eager to try. Long Country has very strict regulations on firearms, and for the vast majority of people, let alone touching one, it's difficult to even see a real gun in their entire lives. Male students from the physical education department stepped forward. At Instructor Zhang's command, he took a group of boys to move the guns from a military truck parked nearby. Before long, all 15 iron boxes were brought over and placed directly in front of the formation. Instructor Zhang and Instructor Li Yunlong ignored the shocked students and used keys to open every single box. The pitch-black rifles were instantly exposed to the air, their bodies faintly emitting a cold, sharp gleam under the light. Type 95? It looks a bit old. I'm afraid these are retired from the military. Cao Boyi recognized the model at a glance. He didn't have much interest in this stuff. In his past life in northern Myanmar, he had even played with AKs, so this was just a novelty at first. Next, please line up to receive your guns. Take note, from the moment you hold a gun, you are not allowed to leave the line of sight of us 3 instructors, and you are strictly forbidden from leaving the training ground. If you have any issues, report them first. Do not do anything unrelated to the training, and do not point the guns at people. Instructor Li Yunlong stared at the students with a serious expression, enunciating every word. Anything related to guns couldn't be taken lightly. If any problems occurred, he would be in trouble too. The superiors had also withstood pressure to let the students experience real military life as much as possible, which was why they had acquired a batch of decommissioned real guns for training. It's so heavy. Why is it different from what I imagined? With this feel, if I took it to the cafeteria, the Annies wouldn't dare let their hands shake when serving food. As soon as they got the guns, many students took out their phones to take pictures as souvenirs. Xiangnan University truly lived up to its reputation as the top institution in the province. This kind of treatment wasn't something ordinary schools could offer. Students, Instructor Li Yunlong patted the rifle body, the metallic echo causing the noisy formation to instantly quiet down. This is the Type 95 rifle, independently developed by our country. Its performance is reliable. Now, I will first demonstrate the basic essentials of holding, aiming, and firing. All of you watch carefully. The students stretched their necks, their eyes shining, and the boys were especially eager to try. Instructor Li Yunlong's movements were very standard, and he emphasized orally, press the buttstock tightly against your shoulder, let it naturally align with your cheek, 3 points in one line. After the demonstration, Instructor Li Yunlong scanned the crowd and asked with a smile, "Who is willing to come up and try?" After a moment, seeing no one raise their hand, Instructor Li Yunlong picked the most conspicuous big goof, Lu Jian, to come up and demonstrate. Lu Jian was big and tall, but the pose he struck was extremely awkward. When aiming, his left eye was squeezed shut, his right eye was wide open, and the muzzle was trembling slightly. This comical appearance made the students burst into laughter. "Wrong. Lower your shoulder a bit more. tense your arms and shoulders. Instructor Lee Yunlong stepped forward to correct him. The second person to go on stage was a skinny girl who held the gun shakily, and when she pulled the trigger, her whole body flinched. After several students tried in succession, none of them had any talent. A disappointed instructor, Lee Yunlong subconsciously thought of Cao Boyi. With this kid's talent, could he give me a big surprise? He looked up and searched for Cao Boyi's figure. He saw that Cao Boyi was holding a gun, his eyes unfocused, and he was in an extremely relaxed state. The brat, he was actually spacing out. Instructor Lee Yunlong cleared his throat and shouted, "Student Cao Boyi, step forward." "Huh? Is something the matter, instructor?" Cao Boyi was startled and hurried out of the formation. He had just been thinking about starting a game company, and he hadn't heard a single word of what Instructor Lee Yunlong had said. Instructor Lee Yunlong pointed to the rifle in his hand and asked with a fake smile, "Do you know what this is?" "A gun." Cao Boyi blurted it out without thinking. Instructor Lee Yunlong was almost angered to death and continued to ask, "I'm not an idiot. I know it's a gun. I'm asking you, what kind of gun is this?" "A rifle." "Ha ha ha." Cao Boyi's plain and simple answer instantly caused an uproar of laughter. "What model is this gun?" Instructor Lee Yunlong raised his volume by several decibels. He seriously suspected that Cao Boyi was playing dumb on purpose. Type 95 automatic rifle. Uses 5.8 mm caliber ammunition, bullpup design, 30-round magazine feed. Effective range 400 meters. Cao Boyi's voice was flat and waveless, as if he were reciting an instruction manual. "Yo, you're quite knowledgeable." Instructor Lee Yunlong was very surprised. It seemed that it was just as he had expected. This kid must be a military enthusiast, and a veteran one at that. Not only was his goose-stepping good, but he also had some research into firearms. However, daring to space out while he was speaking meant he needed to be taught a lesson. Instructor Lee Yunlong immediately changed the subject. "Oh, this dude knows quite a bit. However, guns are operated by hand, not by mouth. No matter how nicely you talk, it's useless. How about you come and demonstrate for everyone?" As soon as he finished speaking, all eyes whooshed and focused on Cao Boyi. There was curiosity, anticipation, and even more, the desire to see how this armchair strategist would make a fool of himself. "What's going on?" Challenging the instructor again. "Impossible. These are real guns. It's impossible to have touched one without being a soldier." No one believed Cao Boyi could do it like last time. After all, you could practice marching on your own at home, but you couldn't do that with a gun. Toy guns and real guns were absolutely not the same thing. There was a world of difference in weight and material. Cao Boyi didn't speak. He took the gun from Instructor Lee Yunlong's hand. This was his first time touching a Type 95, but he felt an inexplicable familiarity, as if he were meeting an old friend. He stepped back half a step with his right foot, lowered his center of gravity, bent his left arm, tucked his elbow in, and steadily supported the handguard. His right shoulder naturally met the buttstock, emitting a soft thud, the dull, solid sound of the buttstock pressing into his shoulder pocket. His right cheek pressed against the cheek rest, his neck and the rifle body forming a straight diagonal line. The entire aiming posture was completed in less than 2 seconds, without the slightest hesitation or adjustment. Holy crap! Instructor Lee Yunlong's heart skipped a beat. This posture was too standard. It was like it had walked right out of a textbook and was even on par with his own. He had spent 12 years slogging it out in the military, and this kid was only just 18. Even if he had started being a soldier from the womb, it wouldn't be much better than this, right? Instructor Lee Yunlong wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at Instructor Zhang beside him. Instructor Zhang's reaction was not much better. His brows were tightly locked, and he was cursing up a storm in his mind. After hesitating for a moment, Instructor Lee Yunlong asked, Have you ever touched a gun before?" He felt that Cao Boyi must have gone abroad and played with many firearms there. "No, I've only seen them on TV." "Instructor, my movements should be considered up to standard, right?" Cao Boyi put down the rifle in his hand with a calm expression. "In this life, He had indeed never touched a gun. "No, I have to report this." Instructor Li Yunlong gritted his teeth. This kid was too strange. He was simply born to be a soldier. If such a talent didn't join the army, it would be a loss for the country. "Wait here for me." Instructor Li Yunlong threw out that sentence and then ran quickly towards the podium. Has Cao Boyi been a soldier before? But he looks about the same age as us. His movements look so professional. While the students were whispering, Instructor Li Yunlong led over an officer wearing a service uniform with the rank of a major on his shoulders. Is that the chief instructor? Ma Zihong in the crowd looked surprised. Wasn't this the chief instructor who spoke at the opening ceremony of the military training? That's him. Instructor Li Yunlong pointed to Cao Boyi. Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua's eyes instantly became sharp, and he scrutinized Cao Boyi with an eagle-like gaze. "Not bad," he first muttered to himself, then smiled and said, "Young man, I heard you know a lot about guns?" Cao Boyi immediately unleashed his top-tier acting skills, scratched his head, and replied with a shy expression, No, I've just seen them on TV." "Learned from TV?" Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua naturally didn't believe it. An ordinary college student, looking green, with smooth finger joints, he didn't look like someone who had received training. Was Instructor Li Yunlong reliable at all? Could he be making a mountain out of a molehill? There's a saying in the army. If it's a mule or a horse, you have to take it out for a walk to find out. "Come, show me everything you've seen on TV," Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua said with a smile. Cao Boyi's brain raced. He didn't plan to expose his full strength, but performing some simple movements wouldn't hurt. With such a long military training, building a good relationship with the chief instructor was ultimately a good thing, and it would make asking for leave much easier. "I'll demonstrate rifle aiming training." Cao Boyi had an idea. This was the basic skill of shooting, requiring one to maintain an aiming posture for over 10 minutes without firing. For untrained recruits, their arms would usually start trembling before they could even last 3 minutes. Cao Boyi didn't say a word, picked up the rifle, and quickly entered the prone shooting position. His body was pressed close to the ground, his arms were as steady as a rock, and his eyes locked onto the front sight through the mechanical sights. A minute passed, and he didn't move a muscle. 5 minutes passed, and his breathing rhythm hadn't changed in the slightest. At 15 minutes, Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua and Instructor Zhang began circling Cao Boyi, trying to find any sign of instability, but they both failed. "Get up." Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua swallowed, his voice sounding a bit dry as he asked, "What exactly did you do before?" Cao Boyi quickly retracted the rifle and stood up, his movements still steady. "Report, Instructor, just an ordinary college student." "An ordinary college student?" Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua's eyelids twitched. He didn't know what to say. "Are ordinary college students this strong now? Then what use were soldiers like them?" Instructor Li Yunlong felt a bit of schadenfreude. He was afraid the battalion commander wasn't feeling too good either. He shouldn't be the only one to experience this sense of frustration. Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua took a deep breath and said to Cao Boyi, "Young man, come with me." Thus, under the watchful eyes of everyone, Cao Boyi was taken away by the chief instructor. The chief instructor took him away? Holy crap! Is this guy going to be specially recruited into the military? The students present were now completely impressed by Cao Boyi, someone who caught the eye of the chief instructor, let alone being their teaching assistant, was more than qualified to be an instructor. Cao Boyi followed behind Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua to a corner near the podium. "Student, what is your major?" "Computer science." "Have you ever thought about developing a career in the military?" Chief Instructor Zhou Weigua patted Cao Boyi on the shoulder, his eyes full of anticipation. "Join the army?" Cao Boyi was stunned. If this were his previous life, he would have definitely agreed without hesitation. After all, no boy didn't yearn for the military barracks. However, having lived another life, he had a 30-something-year-old soul hidden inside him. That original spirit was long gone. All he wanted was money, power, and women. "Thank you for your appreciation, leader," but I've grown accustomed to being free and undisciplined. I'm definitely not suited for the army." Cao Boyi shook his head and decisively refused. Not suited. Chief Instructor Zhou Weiguo was very surprised that the other party had refused so bluntly. But he still wouldn't give up and continue to persuade him. "Do you know how terrifying your talent is? With your military talent, plus your undergraduate degree, your future will surely be wide open, and your achievements will at least not be below mine." Saying this, a hint of pleading flashed across Chief Instructor Zhou Weiguo's face, which had weathered many storms and carried an awe-inspiring righteousness. He extended an invitation to Cao Boyi, sparing no effort in his long-winded persuasion. Everything he did could be said to be without the slightest bit of selfishness. As a Chinese soldier, everything Chief Instructor Zhou Weiguo did was for the motherland. How could he easily let go of such an outstanding talent? Cao Boyi was also a bit moved, but he still firmly shook his head. Seeing this, Chief Instructor Zhou Weiguo didn't force it anymore and took out a business card from his pocket and handed it over. "This is my business card. If you're interested in developing a career in the military in the future, remember to call me." Cao Boyi took the card, which only had Chief Instructor Zhou Weiguo's name and a phone number, with nothing else. Cao Boyi carefully put the business card into his pocket, then gave Chief Instructor Zhou Weiguo a standard military salute. "Thank you, Instructor. Go back to training." Chief Instructor Zhou Weiguo waved his hand. Once Cao Boyi was completely out of sight, he hurriedly took out his phone to call his superior. Time flew by, and with a shout of dismiss, today's military training officially came to an end. Just as Cao Boyi was about to leave the school gate, he heard Lu Dian's voice coming from behind him. "Buroturi, Buroturi." Lu Jian ran over in a rush, looking expectant. "Didn't you say yesterday that you were going to take me to a place?" "Oh, right." Cao Boyi slapped his forehead, almost forgetting that he was going to take his best friend to deeply understand women. "It's still early. Let's go get something to eat first to fill our stomachs, and then I'll take you to sing." "Sing?" Lu Jian looked confused. He couldn't sing, and besides, what did this have to do with singing? Cao Boyi didn't answer him, but instead pulled him into a taxi. As soon as they got in the car, Cao Boyi handed a cigarette to the driver. "Driver, where is the best KTV in our star city?" The driver took the cigarette and revealed a wicked smile. That would definitely be Dynasty Entertainment. I pick up passengers there in the early morning and often see quite a few pretty girls getting off work. TSK, 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 they are top tier." The driver got more and more excited as he talked, blaming himself for not having money. Otherwise, he would definitely go have some fun. Dynasty Entertainment? Cao Boyi noted the name. The afterglow of the setting sun spilled over the streets, as if the entire city had been draped in a layer of golden gauze. The two arrived at an old barbecue restaurant hidden in an alleyway. The storefront wasn't large, but it was extremely popular. Finding a seat by the window, Cao Boyi waved his hand grandly. "Boss, first bring 5 gin of crayfish, then 2 dozen oysters, 1 bunch of chives, and 2 bunches of kidneys." Before long, the spicy, fresh, and fragrant crayfish and chili-dusted skewers were served. Cao Boyi didn't even bother with gloves. He picked up a crayfish, peeled it, and then leisurely popped it into his mouth. Compared to Cao Boyi's composure, Lu Jian appeared somewhat restless. With an embarrassed expression, he asked, "Brother E, can we hurry up a bit?" Cao Boyi wiped his mouth and couldn't help but laugh out loud. "It's still early. Eat more, so you'll have the energy to work later." Looking at Lu Dian's posture, he really couldn't hold back anymore. Thinking about it, it made sense. For someone like Lu Jian who hadn't really interacted with women, his longing for relations between men and women could be said to have reached a frantic level. "Good brother, you're a bit repressed." After finishing the barbecue, Cao Boyi glanced at his phone. It was only 7 o'clock. The time was still early, so Cao Boyi suggested going to a nearby mall to pick up some new clothes. If you go to a high-end KTV wearing a military training uniform, others will only treat you like an idiot and kick you out. Spending 8,000 yuan, the two changed into new outfits from head to toe and they both looked much more mature. Seeing Lu Dian's sullen appearance, Cao Boyi smiled and patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, I'm taking you there now." The two hailed a taxi and headed straight for Dynasty Entertainment. 20 minutes later, the car stopped steadily in front of a magnificent building. Cao Boyi instinctively looked up. The building was shaped like a luxurious ocean liner, its outer walls constructed from vast amounts of golden glass. Under the illumination of the lights, it shimmered with colorful radiance. There were many luxury cars parked in the spaces outside. Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and even supercars like Ferraris. What a great place! Cao Boyi couldn't help but sigh. It was truly a money pit. The luxurious renovation alone must have cost millions. Brother, what are we doing here?" Lu Dian's eyes widened, and he looked at Cao Boyi with a bewildered expression. It was just a slightly more luxurious KTV. What did that have to do with women? Thinking of this, he couldn't help feeling a bit disappointed. "You'll know once we go in." Cao Boyi took out a stack of cash he had prepared in advance, holding it in his hand, and immediately led Lu Dian inside. Pushing open the golden revolving door, they officially entered the lobby. The first thing that caught their eyes was the soaring ceiling, from which a huge crystal chandelier hung. "Respected guests, good evening." 2 rows of beautiful women, wearing low-cut short skirts, over 165 centimeters tall, and with hot figures, bowed in unison to greet them. This scene shocked Lu Dian. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Is this really a KTV? It seems quite different from the ones he had been to before. Cao Boyi, however, had no interest. These common beauties were not his type. He was a gentleman, after all. If it weren't for curing his good brother, he would never come to such a smoky, disreputable place. 2 distinguished guests. Do you have a reservation? A mature woman wearing a black silk, hip-hugging skirt and high heels immediately came up to greet them. "No, arrange a larger private room for us." Cao Boyi casually took out a few bills and stuffed them into the opening of the woman's white shirt. The woman wasn't angry. Instead, she looked delighted. Thank you, boss. Please follow me. I guarantee to arrange the most beautiful girls." Lu Dian was completely stunned. Can you really play like this?" Upon arriving in the private room, Cao Boyi lay casually on the sofa and instructed the manager, "Bring some beer and Western spirits, and add more fruit platters and snacks." Then he specifically instructed, "All right, do you have Joheya? Bring 2 boxes extra spicy." It wasn't that he liked spicy food that much, but he just wanted to be Crayon Shin-chan for once. To let the girls know that life is not easy and money is hard to earn. "All right, boss." The female manager looked excited and quickly picked up the walkie-talkie clipped to her waist to start making arrangements. "Brother what should I do next?" Lu Dian looked at Cao Boyi helplessly. It was his first time in such a place, so naturally, he didn't know the procedure. "Phew." Cao Boyi slowly blew out a smoke ring and said with a smile, "You don't have to do anything. Just be a stingy man, and that's it." Before long, a waiter pushed a cart over, delivered the drinks and snacks, and arranged them neatly on the table. Cao Boyi went to the song selection console, and a blue key instantly appeared on the screen. Yesterday is gone and will never return. Being happy is more precious than anything. Friends wine, sticky hands. After singing, rinse your hands in a friend's glass. The familiar melody played, and the main event officially began. A dozen or so slender girls walked gracefully into the private room. They were wearing all kinds of sexy clothes. Bunny girls, Lolita, office lady uniforms, student outfits, black silk stockings, white silk stockings, fishnet stockings, various styles, everything you could imagine. Lu Dian had never seen such a scene. His eyes went straight. "Brother, what is this?" "Pick whoever you like." Cao Boyi looked relaxed. Since they were out having fun, they had to have a good time. With so many girls, it was guaranteed to cure his best friend's bad habit of not daring to talk to girls. Lu Dian took a deep breath, carefully selected for quite a while, and then spoke weakly. Can I choose 2? 2. Cao Boyi's body trembled. This guy was really an interesting character. "Can you handle 2? I should be fine." A look of determination flashed across Lu Diane's dark face. Don't rush to choose yet. Let's look at a few more batches before making a decision. Remember the numbers on their clothes. Cao Boyi looked confident. Based on his experience, the first batch was definitely not the best. Thus, he pulled out a few more bills and threw them to the female manager. Bring out the most beautiful girls you have here and let my brother see. You got it. The manager picked up the scattered bills with a flattering expression. The private room door was open once again, and the quality of this batch was obviously much higher. Lu Jin picked a mature woman in black silk stockings and a pure girl in white silk stockings, referred to as the black and white duo. With the attitude of since we're already here, Cao Boyi picked a young married woman wearing a stepmom dress, exuding the aura of a good housewife. Prime Minister Chao's favorite, and also his favorite. Suddenly, a girl on the far right, with her head down and wearing a ponytail, caught his attention. The girl was dressed very plainly, in a white t-shirt paired with denim shorts, appearing out of place. You lift your head. Cao Boyi pointed at her and commanded impolitely. You're already working in a place like this. Why are you still acting so fucking pure? Number 51. Look up and let the boss see. The female manager looked displeased, her tone carrying a hint of threat. Okay. The girl's voice trembled, and she lifted her head unwillingly. Her exquisite features were lightly made up. Her appearance wasn't top tier, but she had a fresh and refined aura. Son Iran, Cao Boyi recognized her at a glance. This person was none other than a freshman from this year's music department, and she was also Zhou Zixuan's roommate.